Chapter 3083. Ling Xiao didn't know what was happening in the outside world. He didn't want to know either. His mission was to do his best to break through. After all, even if he knew that his friends were in danger, he wouldn't be able to help given his current abilities. He could only become stronger. The power of the black tortoise was more powerful than he had imagined. Ling Xiao had thought that his cultivation would stop when he reached the peak of the 17th level of the yin-yang transformation. However, in reality, his cultivation was still soaring when he refined the black tortoise pearl and forged the black tortoise divine body. The outside world had made many guesses about the power of the black tortoise. Although some of them were close to the truth, they were ultimately just guesses. Even the Yuan venerates had made some mistakes in their judgment. After all, they had never truly come into contact with the power of the black tortoise. Ling Xiao was the first person to know how terrifying the power of the black tortoise was. The black tortoise divine body was the strongest constitution in the black tortoise continent. It was even above the 12 beast gods. With the black tortoise divine body, one could continuously absorb the power of the black tortoise continent to strengthen one's physical body and improve one's cultivation. As long as one stepped on the ground during battle, there would be an endless supply of internal energy. Of course, the most terrifying part was its defense. The ultimate perfect black tortoise divine body could fuse perfectly with the black tortoise continent and be truly invincible. No martialist below the second transformation could hurt it. Ling Xiao's current black tortoise divine body had only been forged by fusing with a black tortoise pearl. Of course, it wasn't as good as the perfect black tortoise divine body. However, its defense had already surpassed the imperial celestial dragon body and was comparable to a peak general-grade defensive martial technique. If he could find the other 7 black tortoise pearls released by the black tortoise, he would be able to continuously upgrade the grade of his black tortoise divine body. Of course, this was already enough. The black tortoise divine body, which possessed the power of a black tortoise pearl, would probably be able to withstand a few attacks from Lan Mimi. Furthermore, Ling Xiao's improvement wasn't just limited to this. Due to the forging of the black tortoise divine body, Ling Xiao's awakening ability had increased from 1% to 1%. This not only promoted his cultivation from the middle stage of the 17th level of the yin-yang transformation to the early stage of the 18th level of the yin-yang transformation. What was even more frightening was that the battle prowess of his unbounded heavenly rat beast soul had increased by 10 times. Rumble! A terrifyingly loud sound exploded behind Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's body seemed to be wrapped in a layer of black tortoise divine armor. He felt as if he had been reborn. From his soul to his fleshly body, he had received a huge upgrade. This was simply inconceivable. In just over a month, I have already reached my goal. It seems that even I have underestimated my own potential. Ling Xiao was originally looking forward to reaching the first revolution yin-yang realm's 18 levels of hell in a year. Who would have thought that he would be able to achieve it in just over a month? Of course, this was all thanks to the power of the black tortoise. Without the power of the black tortoise, this time would have to be delayed for at least a few months. But this was the so-called opportunity. And this opportunity was also realized with the blood of his friends. He didn't have time to feel the terrifying power in his body. He hurriedly opened his eyes and looked at the battlefield. Great! Ling Xiao has finished cultivating. Everyone get ready to retreat. Originally, Long Xiang and the others didn't expect to be able to kill these powerful enemies. What they needed to do was to hold on until Ling Xiao finished cultivating, then use the spirit bird's speed to escape. But Ling Xiao didn't seem to hear him. He scanned the entire battlefield. Long Xiang was indeed very powerful. He wasn't at a disadvantage when fighting 1 against 3. But that was it. Up until now, although he wasn't injured, his opponents were also unharmed. Chang Qingqing's divine arrow was very terrifying. Her two opponents were miserably played by her, but they were only lightly injured. Phantom could also handle one-on-one. Cold Plum was also fine for now. The troublesome ones were Long Chen and Little Gold. In order to reduce the pressure on the others, Long Chen forced himself to fight two late-stage yin-yang realms, 18 levels of hell, with his mid-stage 18 levels of hell cultivation. It was really stressful. The body of the mighty dragon was already riddled with wounds. As for Little Gold, although it was also one-on-one, his opponent was Lan Mimi. At this moment, Xiao Jin was already beaten black and blue. Although he was still holding on, it was obvious that he couldn't hold on much longer. It was impossible to escape. Ling Xiao knew very well that the enemy wouldn't let them escape. Therefore, the only way was to weaken the enemy's combat power and then retreat when the enemy was weak. Ling Xiao, what are you still standing there for? Hurry up and leave. If you leave, our blood won't be spilled in vain. Long Xiang roared as he fought. That's right, boss. Hurry up and leave. This old woman is too powerful. Even if you join the battle, it won't help. Little Gold was even more anxious. Only those who had fought with Lan Mimi would know how terrifying this woman was. The Demon Master was indeed the Demon Master. His combat power was indeed formidable. Chang Qingqing, Phantom, Cold Plum, and Long Chen had already made up their minds. Even if they sacrificed a few of them to protect Ling Xiao, it would definitely be a victory, because Ling Xiao's talent was stronger than any of them. As long as Ling Xiao was alive, he could avenge them. But if Ling Xiao also stayed here, the final result would definitely be a complete wipeout. That would be too tragic. Ling Xiao didn't leave. He knew it better than anyone else in his heart. If he wanted these people to sacrifice themselves in exchange for his life, then his path of martial arts would be a complete failure. He would rather die than do that. Whoosh! Suddenly Ling Xiao moved. He didn't use any beast soul transformation. He only used his physical body to kill the enemy. His target was one of the enemies fighting with Long Chen, an expert from the Heavenly Sword Hall. Kill! He threw a punch at the man. When that person saw Ling Xiao rushing over, he couldn't help but sneer. I'm the Heavenly Sword Hall's Chu Sword King. Kid, you're here to give me credit. He reported his name just to show how powerful he was. The Sword King was a warrior on the same level as the Devil Dragon Sword Court's Devil King. His pride wasn't without reason. Although Ling Xiao's cultivation had just broken through and his strength had increased a lot, in his opinion, it was still impossible for him to be his opponent. I'm going to kill you. The corner of Ling Xiao's mouth curled up into a sneer. Since he dared to beat up his good brother Long Chen like that, he definitely wouldn't let this guy off easily. Chu Jianwang seemed to look down on Ling Xiao. He treated Long Chen as an opponent and Ling Xiao as a piece of trash that could be killed at any time. Therefore, he didn't even draw his sword. He only used about 70% of his strength to receive Ling Xiao's punch. It was close. Idiot, use your full strength. Lan may seem to have sensed that something was wrong and shouted loudly. Looking down on Ling Xiao's combat strength was tantamount to suicide. However, her words were still shouted too late. Ling Xiao's punch landed heavily on his opponent's hands. Crack! The sound of bones breaking rang out. Chapter 3084. The bones in Chu Jianwang's arms were completely shattered. Then Ling Xiao's fist exploded Chu Jianwang's head with unstoppable force. She's right. You're an idiot. After killing Chu Jianwang, Ling Xiao was in a good mood. This attack was just to test the combat power of the black tortoise divine physique. The result was much better than he expected. After killing Chu Jianwang, Long Chen was freed. It was easy for him to deal with another expert alone. Ling Xiao was thinking about the next step of the battle. Long Xiang, Lan Mimi, and the others were so shocked that they forgot to fight, especially Lan Mimi. She warned Chu Jianwang because she was afraid that he would be injured by Ling Xiao. But she didn't expect that Chu Jianwang would be killed by Ling Xiao with one punch. "Brat, what happened to you?" Lan Mimi felt a trace of fear in her heart. The current Ling Xiao was already so powerful. If she couldn't kill him, how terrifying would Ling Xiao be in the future? Could she still stop him? Was she still a match for him? "Brother Long Xiang, don't just stand there. You and Little Gold work together to stop that old woman Lan Mimi. I'll deal with your 3 opponents." Ling Xiao had thought about it. His fighting style was more diverse, which would help him eliminate the enemies quickly. It would reduce the number of enemies. Long Xiang's defense wasn't lower than his. Although they weren't a match for Lan Mimi with Little Gold, they would definitely be able to hold her back. As they spoke, Ling Xiao had already charged forward. Along the way, he quickly transformed into the unbounded heavenly rat. Powerful energy was continuously released from his body. Ling Xiao believed that with the power of the ultimate heavenly rat, he would have the upper hand against an ordinary martial artist at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm's 18 levels of hell. 2 of Long Xiang's 3 opponents were at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm's 18 levels of hell, and the last one was at the late stage of the Yin-Yang realm's 18 levels of hell. If Ling Xiao was surrounded, it wouldn't bode well for him. But would he be surrounded? Of course not. Before everyone could recover from their shock, the flying Ling Xiao suddenly turned into a beam of golden light and disappeared. Vertical golden light. The everlasting heavenly rat's golden light technique was so fast that even Ling Xiao himself found it inconceivable. "Be careful!" someone exclaimed, clearly feeling how terrifying Ling Xiao was. The 3 experts who were dealing with Long Xiang instantly felt their hair stand on end. They reacted defensively almost at the same time. However, the weakest one among them had already reacted. However, even with Ling Xiao's terrifying speed and power, his body was still sliced in half by the black wings. When he died, he was dumbfounded. He was extremely unwilling to accept this. But what was the use of that? Lu Jianwang, seeing that their companion had been killed, and that it was the Sword King of the Heavenly Sword Hall, the experts of the Heavenly Sword Hall all cried out in shock and anger. Long Xiang and the others were excited. Ling Xiao had just finished cultivating, and he had actually killed 2 Sword Kings by himself, even though they were just weaker Sword Kings. However, this kind of strength was already very shocking. Boss is indeed powerful. Like I said, with the same amount of resources, his cultivation improvement is much better than mine. When Long Qin saw Ling Xiao's power, he was not jealous at all. Instead, he was excited. This little guy had pledged allegiance to Ling Xiao and had long regarded Ling Xiao as the boss of the Dragon Clan. The stronger his boss was, the more excited he was. "Master." Cold Plum's pretty face flushed red. She had always believed that Ling Xiao would become stronger. In fact, Ling Xiao did not disappoint her. Everything they had done today was really worth it. This kid is indeed a genius. He's too awesome. Long Xiang scratched his head. He began to understand why the immortal bird Bai Feng valued Ling Xiao so much. This guy was really shocking. "All right, since that's the case, I'll risk my life to accompany you." After Long Xiang finished speaking, he charged towards Lan Mimi. Although his strength was not as good as Lan Mimi, it was absolutely no problem for him to join forces with Xiao Jin and delay Lan Mimi for a period of time. Chang Qingqing and Phantom naturally would not object to Ling Xiao's suggestion at this time. Ling Xiao used practical actions to demonstrate his terrifying combat strength. Today, he might even be able to eliminate Lan Mimi. Originally, everyone was already thinking of sacrificing themselves heroically to protect Ling Xiao and escape. But now, Ling Xiao had given them confidence. It was not impossible for him to completely wipe out the enemy. "Stinking brat, you think too highly of yourself. On the path of cultivation, the higher you go, the greater the gap between each small realm. Don't think that just because you killed our 2 weakest Sword Kings with a sneak attack, you can be compared to us." The ones who joined forces to attack Long Xiang were the remaining two Sword Kings of the Sword God Hull. One was the Fire Sword King, the other was the Ice Sword King. The combination of ice and fire had caused Long Xiang to suffer quite a bit. Therefore, they did not believe that Ling Xiao could do anything to them. Now, it was time for them to take revenge. But when they looked at Ling Xiao, they discovered that this guy did not pay attention to them at all. Instead, he flew to Xiao Jin's side at an extremely fast speed and let Xiao Jin swallow a few medicinal pills. That medicinal pill was, of course, the 1,000-year fire snake pill. Not only could it rapidly heal Xiao Jin's injuries, but it could also increase Xiao Jin's combat strength again, reducing the gap between him and Lan Mimi. "Brat, you dare to look down on us!" Fire Sword King and Ice Sword King were greatly annoyed. It was not like they had never seen a genius warrior like Ling Xiao before. He was extremely arrogant in front of them, but in the end he was easily defeated by them and could no longer be arrogant. A warrior who had just broken through to the early stage of the Yin-Yang Realm's 18th level of Hell had to face two warriors at the peak of the Yin-Yang Realm's 18th level of Hell at the same time. Defeat? This kind of thing had never happened in the Black Tortoise Continent. No matter how heaven-defying a genius was, it was impossible to do this. Not to mention two, even if it was one, perhaps only the human kings of the past could do it. And facing two at the same time, even a human king could not do it. There was a huge gap between them. If the gap between each small realm of the 17th level of Hell in the Yin-Yang realm was one, even if one faced a peak warrior at the early stage, it was only a difference of 3. It was still possible to win. However, the gap between each small realm of the Yin-Yang realm's 18th level of Hell was 10. Facing a peak warrior at the early stage, the gap was 30. A 10-fold increase in difficulty. This was an almost impossible task. That was why Fire Sword King and Ice Sword King were so confident. That was why they thought that Ling Xiao was just farting there. Brat, today we will let you know what it means to overestimate yourself. What it means to be a frog at the bottom of a well. Fire Sword King completely released his aura. A fire sword martial soul appeared behind him. Chapter 3085. Facing the arrogant Fire Sword Monarch. The proud Ice Sword Monarch. Ling Xiao smiled. Actually, today's danger had come to an end. From the moment he joined the battle, Lan Mimi was destined to lose. Lan Mimi was strong, but facing the pincer attack of Long Xiang and Xiao Jin, it was impossible for her to break free in a short time. What Ling Xiao needed to do was to kill the rest of the enemies. The Fire Sword Monarch was right about one thing. The difference between the early and peak of the first transition's 17th level of Hell was far less than the difference between the early and peak of the first transition's 18th level of Hell. However, Ling Xiao's improvement was not small either. The Sun God's energy awakened from 1,000th to 100th. Coupled with the Black Tortoise Divine Body, this was a very terrifying boost. Stepping on the ground, Ling Xiao felt incomparably powerful. His body seemed to be closely connected with the earth, and the endless power of the earth was constantly replenishing his internal energy. This made him more confident. There's no use in talking so much nonsense. Come, Ice Sword Monarch. Fire Sword Monarch. Ling Xiao took out the demonic dragon sword and pointed at the two of them. Although he was confident, he would not underestimate his opponent. His opponent was not weak. On the contrary, she was very strong. This battle was not going to be easy. If he really dared to underestimate his opponent, he might end up like Chu Jianwang. Kill! The Fire Sword Monarch was the first to lose his patience. He waved the fire sword in his hand and charged at Ling Xiao. His speed was extremely fast, like a fiery red lightning. In an instant, he was in front of Ling Xiao. The fire was monstrous, and the sword qi was incomparably sharp. It directly slashed at Ling Xiao's head. Die, brat! Ling Xiao closed his eyes, and the demonic dragon sword in his hand glowed with an earthy yellow light. In his mind, a gigantic black tortoise appeared. Ancient, eternal, and powerful. Kill. He did not use any moves. He just casually stabbed out with his sword. The earthy yellow power of the earth enveloped the entire demonic dragon sword. It collided with the blazing fire sword. Ling Xiao could clearly feel that the black tortoise divine physique did not only bring him a simple increase in defense. It also allowed him to further master the power of the earth. In the past, he had comprehended the power of the royal heaven Earth Queen. However, that was only the benefit that the Queen of Heaven Earth's remnant consciousness left for him. It wasn't everything, and it might not even be 1/10,000th of it. Because of this, after arriving at the Black Tortoise continent, he still had to use all kinds of combat constitutions, including defensive martial arts, to strengthen his defense. But now the Black Tortoise divine physique had allowed his power of earth to evolve. Rumble. On one side, flames soared into the sky, dyeing half the sky red. On the other side, yellow soil was flying in the air, and sand was rolling like a sandstorm. The terrifying collision even affected the rest of the battle. Neither of them retreated after this attack. Ling Xiao was overjoyed. The Black Tortoise divine body was indeed extremely powerful. Even when facing a First Revolution Yin-Yang realm martial artist who was at the peak of the 18th level of hell, it would not lose out. In fact, he even had the upper hand. Together with the heaven-defying, unbounded heavenly rat, he already had full confidence that he could defeat the Fire Sword King. However, at this moment, the Ice Sword King's attack came from behind him. These two people were really not holding back. In order to take revenge, they really thought highly of him. Golden Phoenix Incarnation. Ling Xiao did not turn around. A ball of fire flew out from his body and turned into a burning Ling Xiao. Its combat strength was almost the same as the current Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao had already cultivated this medium general level martial art to the greater mastery realm. The Golden Phoenix Incarnation already possessed close to 100% of Ling Xiao's strength. Of course, the Golden Phoenix Incarnation without the Sky Tyrant martial soul was still inferior to Ling Xiao in terms of combat strength. However, it was more than enough to block the Ice Sword King's attack. After this attack, the Fire Sword King and the Ice Sword King were incomparably shocked. The Ice Sword King was slightly better off. Facing Ling Xiao's Golden Phoenix Incarnation, he was not injured. However, the Fire Sword King was not so well off. He directly faced Ling Xiao's original body. He was hit and penetrated by Ling Xiao's demonic dragon sword that was wrapped in the power of the earth. One of his arms seemed to have dried up and lost a lot of water. He looked a little miserable. His face was completely distorted. Not only was he in pain, but he was also angry and berserk. With just one attack, he was actually injured by Ling Xiao. This was something that he could not accept no matter what. The Black Tortoise divine body is really domineering. Ling Xiao was also shocked. This Black Tortoise divine body not only increased the power of all his attacks, but also had a special effect of absorbing the water in the enemy's body. This was simply too domineering. It was many times stronger than the demonic dragon blood curse. The Fire Sword King did not think of this and was hit in the end. This was still an injury through a weapon. If he was directly stabbed by Ling Xiao's demonic dragon sword, the Fire Sword King would probably be turned into dried meat at this time. Interesting. Black Tortoise divine body. Ling Xiao had a feeling that this Black Tortoise divine body would definitely be one of the keys for him to dominate the Black Tortoise continent. He must do his best to find the other 7 Black Tortoise pearls and let the Black Tortoise divine body evolve to a perfect state. At that time, he believed that even the experts of the Eternal Life Palace would not be able to break through his terrifying physical defense. Damn it, what is going on? What did you do? Even if the Fire Sword King racked his brains, he would not be able to understand what kind of energy Ling Xiao used to make one of his arms almost completely dry. That was his right hand that held the sword. Once it was crippled, his entire strength would be greatly reduced. Of course, he could not understand. No one could understand, because even in the Black Tortoise continent, no one had truly swallowed and refined the Black Tortoise pearl. Ling Xiao was the first. Therefore, the changes that were happening in Ling Xiao's body were not only confusing to his enemies, but also to his companions. However, there was a difference. The enemy felt panic. His companions felt surprise. Fire Sword King, are you okay? The Ice Sword King asked anxiously. At this time, he was forced by the Golden Phoenix incarnation to the point that he could not get close to Ling Xiao, nor could he save the Fire Sword King. He could only anxiously shout, "I won't die yet, but you have to quickly end the battle. It's just an incarnation. Don't drag it out for too long, or else I will really die." The Fire Sword King knew that they had underestimated Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao, who had swallowed and refined the Black Tortoise Pearl, was definitely not the same as before. It was as if he had been reborn. He had to be serious. Fortunately, although his right arm was almost dry, it could still be used. The Ice Sword King was also complaining in his heart. What was a mere Golden Phoenix incarnation? Although it was just an incarnation, its fighting strength was not much weaker than Ling Xiao's. Although he was not afraid, it was almost impossible to finish it in a short time. However, although he thought so, his hands still moved faster. Chapter 3086. Ling Xiao was not at a disadvantage against the Fire Sword Monarch and the Ice Sword Monarch. The rest of the people were also fighting. Long Qin finally killed a Sword Monarch, who was at the late stage of the 18th level of Hell in a one-on-one battle. 3 of the 5 Sword Monarchs had died. Long Qin freed up his hands and went to help Long Xiang and Little Gold. The real troublesome one was Lan Mimi. Although Long Chen was not as powerful as Long Xiang and Little Gold, he could still help, especially his golden dragon body, which was a real dragon's body. Its defense was not inferior to Ling Xiao's Black Tortoise divine body. Lan Mimi had already attacked Long Xiang and Little Gold until they were in a sorry state. However, with Long Chen's addition, the golden dragon body, and the terrifying dragon extinction, the battle became a tug of war again. On Ling Xiao's side, the battle was still going on. The Fire Sword Monarch rose into the air. The fire sword in his hand was brewing an even more powerful sword essence. The fiery sword essence exploded in the void. The fire sword instantly expanded and became extremely huge, like a huge guillotine. The entire sky seemed to be covered by this huge sword. The sky above Ling Xiao's head was completely crimson red. A general level martial technique? As expected, a sword monarch martial artist naturally had a general level martial technique. Although it looked like a beginner general level martial technique, its power was not to be underestimated. Fire Soul, Great Flame Saber. The fire sword monarch roared, and a terrifying attack poured down. Do you think you're the only one with a general level martial technique? I won't lose to you. Ling Xiao shook the demon dragon sword in his hand. The demon dragon sword was surrounded by flames and merged with the power of the earth. Then he pointed at the sky and stabbed out with the sword. The first style of the exotic flame sword technique, fire rain, burst. There was a crazy sandstorm in the fire rain. The fire and sand merged into one and turned into scorching magma, scalding quicksand. It crazily collided with the great flame saber. The sky seemed to be completely melted by these 2 balls of energy. Rumble. Rumbles sounded continuously. The collision between sword chi and sword chi was white hot. The Fire Sword King was afraid of the special effect of Ling Xiao's attack, so he didn't dare to get close. That was why he used the ferocious Great Flame Saber. However, Ling Xiao's strange flame sword art was not to be trifled with either. Coupled with the ferocious power of the earth, not only did the flames not show any signs of weakening, they became even more terrifying. Break! With a furious roar, Ling Xiao passed through the layers of obstacles and flew out of the scorching sandstorm. The demon dragon's sword struck the fire sword, and a terrifying power gushed out from his body. Ling Xiao didn't want to continue playing. He had been paying close attention to the situation of his companions with his soul force. Chang Qingqing, Phantom, and Cold Plum were fine for now, but Lan Mimi was too strong. Even when Long Xiang, Long Chen, and Little Gold joined forces, they only managed to gain a slight advantage for a short period of time. Then he was quickly suppressed. Until now, he was already surrounded by danger. He had to finish the battle as soon as possible so that he could help. Moreover, he had the strength to do so. Crack! The fire sword broke, and the demon dragon's sword pierced through the fire sword monarch's body. A strange energy surged. The fire sword monarch turned into a dried corpse in an instant and fell to the ground. And Ling Xiao's potential increased by a lot. The fire sword monarch was dead, and he was killed by Ling Xiao's powerful strength. At this moment, those who looked down on him no longer had a reason to deny his strength. Previously, the Fire Sword Monarch and the Ice Sword Monarch thought that Ling Xiao had ambushed Chu Jianwang and Lu Jianwang. But now, Ling Xiao used facts to prove his strength once again. The Ice Sword Monarch was scared out of his wits when he saw this. He actually didn't care that the battle was still going on and turned to flee. Ling Xiao recalled his Golden Phoenix incarnation and didn't give chase. He killed the enemies to reduce their numbers and gain an advantage. Since the enemies had fled, there was no need to give chase. Hee, Lan Mimi, aren't you going to stop? Even if you're strong enough, do you believe that I won't kill all 4 demon kings of your demon dragon sword court? Ling Xiao's cold laughter suddenly sounded. He didn't have any hostages in his hands. But Lan Mimi was very clear that Ling Xiao definitely had the strength to do so. That fire sword monarch wasn't any weaker than the 4 demon kings under her, but he was killed just like that. Demon Lord, don't worry about us. Kill these guys with all your strength. One of the demon kings shouted. They didn't want to be a burden. Moreover, in their opinion, even if Ling Xiao wanted to kill them, it wouldn't be that easy. However, just as his voice sounded, a sword light pierced through his throat. When he died, his eyes were wide open, and he died with grievances. You're even more useless than the Fire Sword Monarch. I really don't know where your courage comes from. Ling Xiao mocked. Lan Mimi, I came this time purely for the Black Tortoise's power. This thing can be obtained by whoever has the ability. Your demon dragon sword court has guarded it for so many years, but no one has been able to obtain the Black Tortoise Pearl. This is simply a gift from the heavens, so don't be dissatisfied. I can guarantee you that as long as your demon dragon sword court doesn't make things difficult for me in the future, I won't make a move against your people. No matter what, I've been a disciple of the demon dragon sword court for a few days. Ling Xiao killed the weakest demon king, then looked coldly at Lan Mimi and said, Let us go, or else you know the consequences. You can't kill me today. Lan Mimi was very unhappy. Very unhappy. She had a breath of air in her heart that she couldn't vent. But she was also very rational. She wanted the Black Tortoise's power to restore the prosperity of the Demon Dragon Sword Court. But if the remaining 3 Demon Kings were also killed, then the gains wouldn't make up for the losses. Of course, more importantly, with so many helpers, even if she personally made a move, it would be very difficult to kill Ling Xiao. Get lost, she roared as if she was venting her anger. Thank you. Let's go. Ling Xiao carefully stared at Lan Mimi and gathered his people together. They all rode on the spirit bird and Xiao Jin. In the blink of an eye, they had already disappeared into the distance. Lan Mimi's gaze was gloomy to the extreme. It seems that I have no choice but to put down my pride and completely cooperate with the Sword God Hall. With the help of the Sword God Hall, the Demon Dragon Sword Court will definitely be able to rise again. The only troublesome thing is that those guys from the Sword God Hall will probably arrange for a lot of people to come in. Forget it. Everything doesn't matter. I just want to kill Ling Xiao now. She had never hated a person as much as she did now. She swore that after everything in the demon dragon's sword court returned to normal, she would personally hunt down Ling Xiao. Even if she had to chase him to the ends of the earth, she would definitely not let Ling Xiao live. That kid had really infuriated her. On the other side, Long Chen looked at Ling Xiao excitedly and said, "Boss, you're simply too awesome. I've never seen a martial artist at the early stage of the Yin-Yang realm's 18th level of hell who can kill a peak martial artist so easily. That was the Fire Sword King." Chapter 3087. That's right. If it wasn't for Ling Xiao, we would have all died in the Devil Dragon's sword court. That old demon Lan Mimi must be so angry right now. Long Xiang took the healing pill that Ling Xiao gave him and said excitedly, "To be honest, I've already decided to die. It seems like the heavens don't want me to die. But Ling Xiao, you must be careful. After this incident, Lan Mimi must hate you to the core. She might even cooperate with the Heavenly Sword Hall. At that time, you'll be in danger." Chong Qingqing reminded. She didn't say much, but what she said was the key point. "I've warned her. If she doesn't know what's good for her, I'll just destroy the Devil Dragon's sword court." Ling Xiao said coldly. "Domineering, as expected of the person ranked third on the bounty list. In the past, you were only qualified for the bounty, but now I think you're qualified with your strength. Even Qingqing and Phantom aren't a match for you." Long Xiang laughed. "If it wasn't for you guys risking your lives to help me, I wouldn't be where I am today. I'll definitely repay your kindness in the future." Ling Xiao said in a clear voice. "Don't do that in the future, boss." After Sister Phantom was captured by the Rare Goods house, not only was she poisoned with the 7 days powder, but her storage ring was also stolen. There were a large number of spiritual stones in it, and a fine emperor-level sword was also stolen. Long Chun hurriedly said, "It just so happens that we'll pass by the Heaven End City on our way to the Heaven End Ancient Ruins. Why don't we just take revenge for Sister Phantom? Is that true?" Ling Xiao looked at Phantom and asked doubtfully. Phantom nodded helplessly. She didn't want to say it at first, as she was afraid that Ling Xiao would impulsively find trouble with the Rare Goods house. The Rare Goods house is an auction house under the Heaven End Palace. We can't afford to offend them. If we hurt the Heaven End King, the Heavenly Sword Hall will definitely go crazy. Phantom hurriedly reminded. "I don't care about the Heaven End King or the Heavenly Sword Hall. Sister Phantom, you guys are willing to risk your lives to protect me. If I can't even avenge you guys, am I still human? Furthermore, my cultivation has increased greatly now, but it's still not stable enough. I just happen to need to exchange blows with experts. This Tianjua King is just nice to be my sparring partner." Ling Xiao looked ahead. They would arrive at the Heaven Extinction City very soon. "Well said. Let's go together. We don't have to be afraid of the Tianju Palace." Long Xiang said. "No, I'll go alone this time. You guys go to the Heavens and Ancient Ruins first, and meet up with Big Brother by Fong and the others. If I'm alone, it'll be easier for me to retreat if I run into trouble." Ling Xiao said. "No." The rest of the people directly refused. "Listen to me. With my current strength, although I might not be a match for Tian Zhuang, I'm good at escaping. He can't kill me. However, if there are too many people, I'll become a burden." Ling Xiao explained, "What's more, the situation in the Tianjua ancient ruins is unknown. The earlier you go, the earlier you can help Brother Bai Fong and the others. This is my business. I have to follow." Phantom said. "Forget it. You'll follow. There's no need to discuss with the rest. You guys should focus on the big picture. Don't mess up." Ling Xiao wanted Phantom to see him take revenge for her, so it was fine to bring her along. Anyway, he had the beast ring and could let her hide temporarily. "Don't forget, I still have Xiao Jin. His strength is not inferior to Big Brother Long Xiang. All right, since you've already decided, we won't say anything more. Remember, run if you can't win. There's a small town outside the heavens and ancient ruins. Let's gather there." Long Xiang nodded and said, "Boss, take care." Long Qin knew his boss's temper too well. No one could change his mind once he had decided on something. "Master, I'll wait for you outside the heavens and ancient ruins. Moreover, I'll become stronger," Cold Plum also said seriously. As they spoke, they had already arrived outside the heavens and ancient ruins and split into two. Long Xiang, Chong Ching, Long Chen, and Cold Plum headed to the heavens and ancient ruins to help Bai Fong and the others. Ling Xiao and Phantom went directly to the rare goods building. There was an auction going on in the rare goods building. The one hosting the auction was the lady boss of the rare goods building, Mei Ruhu. Suddenly, the entire roof of the rare goods building was blasted apart. Two figures were floating in the sky. Everyone looked up in surprise and couldn't help but exclaim, "It's him! It's that Ling Xiao! He killed young Master Yuling and crippled little Fire God. He still dares to come to the heavens and ancient ruins?" Seeing Ling Xiao and Phantom, Meiruhu knew that things weren't going well. She gently crushed a talisman with her right hand. That was 1,000 miles voice transmission talisman imported from the Immortal Court. Although it could only be used once, it was very useful to contact her own people during critical moments. After doing that, her angry expression instantly turned into a charming smile. "Young Masterling, you're really interesting. Instead of going through the front door, you came down from the roof. This rare goods building is the property of the Heaven's End Palace. Aren't you afraid that the Heaven's End Palace will come after you for destroying it?" Ling Xiao didn't bother to talk nonsense with her. He went straight to the point. "Give me Phantom's storage ring and apologize to her. I can spare your life." "You!" The charming smile on Meiruhu's face instantly turned ferocious and terrifying. "Kid, do you really think that I, Meiruhu, will be afraid of you? Coming to my place to behave atrociously. Do you think I'm that useless young noble spectre? I'll give you 10 breaths to make your decision." Ling Xiao started counting coldly. 10. His voice carried an intense chill that enveloped Wannabe Fox's entire body. Wannabe Fox's body suddenly trembled, and his expression changed drastically. However, she still gritted her teeth and said, "You don't have to continue counting. I won't give you anything." 9. Ling Xiao acted as if he didn't hear her and continued counting. "Is there something wrong with that kid's head? The experts of the Mansion of Spectres and Firecloud Palace are all looking for him. Now he's offending the Heaven End King's residence. Isn't that just courting death?" The people in the auction house couldn't understand Ling Xiao's actions. They all thought that Ling Xiao was a fool. Could that guy be after the Heavenly Tribulation Jade? No way. He's only in the early 17th level of the Hell of Yinyang. He's still far from the life-seizing level. Why would he want the Heavenly Tribulation Jade? The Heavenly Tribulation Jade exists to fight against the Heavenly Tribulation. Every time a life-sizer tries to seize life from the heavens, he'll be punished by the heavens. That's the Heavenly Tribulation. Most martial artists who reach the life-seizing level from the peak of the 18th level of the Hell of Yinyang will be killed by the Heavenly Tribulation. The Heavenly Tribulation Jade can help martial artists overcome the difficulties. He doesn't need it. I don't think he'll ever reach the life-seizing level. That's true. Besides, the Heavenly Tribulation Jade is incomparably precious. It wasn't easy for the House of Mystical Goods to get one from the Heaven End King. That Ling Xiao probably doesn't even know about it. The people below were discussing fervently, but Ling Xiao heard everything. He didn't know that the second cycle life-sizer was so terrifying that he needed the Heavenly Tribulation Jade to save his life. Chapter 3088. Ling Xiao was very interested in the use of the Heaven Calamity Jade. By then, Ling Xiao had already counted to 5. Then he added, "By the way, give me the Heaven Calamity Jade that you auctioned." "You're pushing your luck. Mong Rua Fox's entire body was trembling. It was a trembling of anger and displeasure. Ling Xiao really looked down on her too much, and this made her very unhappy. You have 2 breaths of time left. Make your own decision. Ling Xiao was still counting, but he had already started to use his Tai Chi eye to search for the Heaven Calamity, Jade, and Phantom storage ring. He knew that Huan Ruhu would not give him the items so easily, so she was just giving him time to search. Found it. Ling Xiao was overjoyed. His body suddenly flashed and disappeared into the void, rushing into the auction house. When he reappeared, he had 2 more items in his hands. One was the Heaven Calamity Jade, and the other was Phantom's storage ring. The items in the storage ring had not been taken out because Phantom's storage ring had been set up with a restriction. Such a storage ring was really rare. Anyway, none of the storage rings that Ling Xiao had obtained before had this function. Take it. Ling Xiao gave the storage ring to Phantom, then took the Heaven Calamity Jade and put it in the Mountain River realm. That was the safest place. Then he looked at Mong Rua Fox and counted the last number. 1. I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. Then die. Faced with Huan Ruhu, who was charming and had an excellent figure, Ling Xiao did not have any intention of showing any mercy. He directly threw a punch across the air. Of course, he did not use his full strength in this punch. He only used 10% of his strength. Now, if he wanted to kill Huan Ruhu, 10% of his strength would be more than enough. However, just as he was about to throw a punch, a figure appeared in front of Handsome Fox and blocked his attack. It easily blocked Ling Xiao's punch. This person was wearing silver armor and looked like a young general. She looked to be only 16 or 17 years old, similar to Ling Xiao's age. Darling Fox, are you all right? The young general blocked Ling Xiao's punch and asked Zhang Ruhu gently, Young city lord, is it really you? That's great. This Ling Xiao is simply too much. Not only did he snatch away what we got, but he also snatched away the Heaven Calamity Jade that Lord Tian Ju gave us to auction. When Mong Rua Fox saw the young general, he was overjoyed. Although she had sent out a distress signal, she did not expect the other party to come so early. Young city lord? Ling Xiao frowned. That person is Tianju Wang's son, Tianju City's young city lord, Tianju Sanhua. Phantom said from the side. At this moment, her expression became incomparably ugly and frightened. Her body couldn't help but tremble as if she had seen something terrifying. Ling Xiao looked at Phantom and said with concern, Sister Phantom, why don't you hide in the beast ring for a while? No need. Some things have to be settled in the end. She shook her head, looked at Tianju Sanhua, and said sternly, Tianju Sanhua, you beast. Today, I, Phantom, will definitely kill you. Young city, Lord Tianju Sanhua, raised his head and looked at Phantom. He suddenly sneered. Oh, I was wondering who it was. Isn't this Miss Phantom? TSK, now that I think about it, your skills in bed are really not bad. Although it's a little lacking compared to my darling Fox, it's still first rate. Why? Do you want to have sex with this young city lord again? I'll kill you. Phantom was completely enraged by Tianju Sanhua's words. She pulled out her long sword and was about to kill. However, she was stopped by Ling Xiao. Sister Phantom, I roughly know what happened. Don't worry, I'll let you deal with that guy. Even if you cut off his flesh piece by piece, it's all yours. Ling Xiao's voice was extremely sinister and terrifying. Although he did not know Phantom for a long time, he knew that Phantom should be a lively girl. Presumably, being defiled by a beast must be very painful. If she did not kill Tianju Sanhua, this matter would probably become Phantom's shadow for the rest of her life. He really came at the right time today. Phantom began to cry. She cried very sadly. Ling Xiao put her away into the beast ring. Through the beast ring, she could see everything that happened outside. You're Ling Xiao. Tianju Sanhua finally looked at Ling Xiao and said with a cold smile, "Your attacks are soft and without any strength. I really don't know what a trash like you came here for. Are you here specially to deliver women to me? Or are you here to court death? I originally just wanted to come and take back what Sister Phantom lost. But now I suddenly decided to castrate you, this beast, first, then hand you over to Sister Phantom to slowly skin you alive." Ling Xiao's voice exuded a terrifying sharpness. Hearing it, the people in the auction house all felt like their bodies were being slowly sliced apart by knives. It was unbearable to the extreme. "Ha ha ha ha, kid, did you take the wrong medicine? I advise you to obediently hand over the Heaven Calamity, Jade, and Phantom. That way, I might leave you with an intact corpse." Tianju Sanhua was extremely arrogant. He had achieved success at a young age. Under the nurturing of his father, Tianju King, his current cultivation had already reached the early stage of Yin Yang Realm's 18 levels of hell. This cultivation was not inferior to Empress Lan Meichen at all. Therefore, he was also known as a peerless genius on the same level as Empress Lan Meichen. Whether it was young Master Yuling or Little Fire God, they could not compare to him. Moreover, he had once challenged a martial artist who was at the late stage of Yin Yang Realm's 18 levels of hell. Therefore, under the age of 20, he had always felt that he was invincible. No one could be his match. As for Ling Xiao, he did not take it to heart at all. "Then there's no room for negotiation," Ling Xiao said coldly. "Negotiate my ass. In the entire Tianju city, other than my father, no one dares to negotiate with me. Tianju Sanhua. Among martial artists under the age of 20, I, Tianju Sanhua, am an invincible existence. Do you want to die without an intact corpse?" Tianju Sanhua revealed a mocking and sinister smile. When the people heard this, they all sighed. Tianju Sanhua was indeed rude enough. This guy relied on his cultivation of Yin Yang Realm's 18 levels of hell and was simply condescending. Coupled with the might of Tianju royal residence, there was really no one who dared to provoke him in Tianju City. Even outside Tianju City, there are probably not many who dared to provoke him. Although Ling Xiao was third on the bounty board, his fame was greater than his strength. Daring to oppose Tianju Sanhua, he would really die without an intact corpse. Tianju Sanhua, this lunatic, would definitely do as he said. It was absolutely impossible for him to show mercy. In this case, other than dying, I'm still dead." Ling Xiao revealed a mocking smile. "In the past, many people had given me the same choice. They thought that they had me in the bag and felt that killing me was very easy. But in the end, the ones who died were all them." Chapter 3089. Ling Xiao looked at Tianju Sanhua coldly. "Today, not only that woman will die, you will die too." Ling Xiao suspected that Huan Rua Fox was the same as demon Lord Lan Mimi, a womanizer. As a woman, Lan Mimi had defiled many wives of demon generals and demon kings. The tragic experiences of those women were even more terrifying than being defiled by men. The feeling that Huan Rua Fox gave Ling Xiao was very similar to Lan Mimi. It was just that her strength was not as strong as Lan Mimi. Therefore, he would definitely not let this woman go. "Kill us." Tianju Sanhua was stunned. He thought that he had heard wrongly. Not only did Ling Xiao not seem to be afraid of him, he was even threatening him. Even the onlookers were stunned when they heard this. They knew that Ling Xiao had killed young Master Yuling. But compared to young Master Yuling and Tianju Sanhua, they were not on the same level. "Hee, my dear, you heard it right?" Huan Rua Fox said with a smile. Of course, she was happy because Ling Xiao had angered Tianju Sanhua. The final outcome would definitely be very tragic, and that was what she wanted to see. "Of course I heard it, but I thought I heard wrongly. In Tianju City, he is the only one under the age of 20 who dares to threaten me." Tianju Sanhua revealed a cruel sneer, and looked at Ling Xiao. "You will die, and you will die miserably. I will let you know what the most painful way to die in this world is." His expression was ferocious and terrifying. Clearly, he had lost his patience with Ling Xiao and was no longer prepared to wait. "Die." A cold shout came out from Tianju Sanhua's mouth, and his figure also disappeared the moment the voice sounded. The onlookers could not find any trace of him. They were incomparably shocked. They felt that this 16 or 17-year-old young city, Lord Tianju Sanhua, was really too powerful. No wonder he was as famous as Lan Mimi of Demon Dragon's Sword Court. They could not see it, but it did not mean that Ling Xiao could not see it. Ling Xiao's Tai Chi eye instantly locked onto Tianju Sanhua's position. This person should be good at palm techniques. This palm caused a palm wind to explode. It was like a heavenly maiden scattering flowers. There was actually a terrifying feeling of being torn apart by a storm. It exuded a cold and sharp aura. His target was naturally Ling Xiao, and it was Ling Xiao's head. The moment the heaven extinction scattering flower made a move, it was going to kill Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao is finished. I'm afraid that even the attack of the ultimate heavens scattering flower can't detect it, right? Who asked him to provoke the young city lord? Can't he just live well? Everyone secretly shook their heads. They all felt that Ling Xiao was a little too conceited and overconfident. How could he dodge an attack that he couldn't even see? Ling Xiao was dead meat. However, at this moment, Ling Xiao suddenly raised his right hand and pointed. No one knew where he was going to point. However, in the next moment, a clanging sound was heard. People finally saw the heavens and scattering flowers. His hand actually already reached the top of Ling Xiao's head, and Ling Xiao's finger just happened to hit that hand of the heavens and scattering flower. That hand's palm was actually directly penetrated by this finger. The heavens and scattering flower felt pain and rapidly retreated, standing several dozen meters away from Ling Xiao. Looking at his bleeding right hand, he was incredibly shocked. That finger of Ling Xiao's was simply as sharp as a sharp sword. Furthermore, wherever he pointed, it would hit. It was simply extremely accurate. The instantaneous penetrating power was comparable to mortal-grade Emperor artifact. He had actually pierced through his palm. Compared to the pain on his palm, he was even more displeased in his heart. Being injured by Ling Xiao in one move in front of so many people was a very humiliating thing to him. Ling Xiao smiled contemptuously. If it were a few days ago, he might be afraid of the heavens and scattering flower. But today, since he came to take revenge, that meant that he had a sufficient understanding of his strength. He could even kill the Fire Sword King who was at the peak of Yin Yang Realm's 18 levels of hell, not to mention a mere heavens and scattering flower. Although the heavens and scattering flower was a genius, killing a late-stage martial artist with his early-stage cultivation of Yin Yang Realm's 18 levels of hell. But even if he had late-stage strength, in the end he was still not a match for Ling Xiao. Good boy, you really have some skills. It seems that I really underestimated you. But if you think that this is all my strength, then you're wrong. The heavens and scattering flower was really stunned by Ling Xiao, so he had to unleash all his strength. Behind him, a huge palm appeared. The entire palm was pitch black like ink, but it was incomparably huge. This kind of martial spirit was very unique. Ling Xiao had seen something similar in the Heavenly Dragon Continent before, but that was a fist. No wonder the heavens and scattering flower was good at palm techniques. It seemed that it had a lot to do with this martial spirit. Fusion. Devil Buddha. Hand. Martial spirit. The so-called fusion of the heavens and scattering flower was the fusion of this martial spirit and his hands. After the fusion, his hands instantly became pitch black like ink, giving people the feeling that his combat strength had soared by a lot. Whether it was attack or defense, it made people even more fearful. At the same time, the aura on his body rose rapidly. At this time, he was simply like a devil Buddha, wanting to use the devil Buddha hand to clean up the evil in the world. Devil Buddha Heavens and Palm. The power of the elementary general level martial arts combined with the devil Buddha hand martial spirit was simply terrifying. When this move was used, the entire sky was filled with the shadow of the devil Buddha hand. It was as if there were countless palms, all slapping towards Ling Xiao. The entire space was targeted at Ling Xiao's attack. What was real and what was false, it was completely impossible to distinguish. This palm wind covered the sky and completely blocked all angles of Ling Xiao's escape. People couldn't help but sigh. It seems that it was just a coincidence just now. Ling Xiao is really going to die this time. There's no way to avoid such a move. Many people thought of themselves as Ling Xiao and put themselves in his shoes. In the end, they realized that no matter what, they couldn't avoid the fate of death. Ling Xiao would definitely be smashed into meat paste by the terrifying devil Buddha hand. This was really a very miserable way to die in the world. In the Beast Ring, seeing this scene, Phantom was extremely nervous and even wanted to rush out to help Ling Xiao. However, she was stopped by Ling Xiao. As for that fox-like appearance, he laughed crazily. "See, this is the price. This is the price for daring to cause trouble in our rare goods house." She was very proud, although it was not her who wanted to kill Ling Xiao, but Tianju Darkflower. But as long as Ling Xiao could die, she would be very happy. However, at this time, Ling Xiao showed a disdainful smile. His body instantly entered the Frost Dragon Beast Soul transformation state. Around him, the air instantly became extremely cold, and a lot of frost appeared on the originally hot street. Frost Dragon Breath. He roared. He opened his mouth and spat. A large area of dragon breath was released. It rushed towards the countless Devil Buddha hands in the sky. As long as the Devil Buddha hands were touched by the Frost Dragon Breath, they would completely disappear under the terrifying freezing force. Ah, a mournful scream came from the endless ice dragon breath. Chapter 3090. The heavens and Senhua fled to an even higher sky in fright, but his hands had already been frozen into ice cubes. His expression was ferocious and terrified. It was as pale as a white paper. The life aura of his frozen hands was rapidly fading away. The frost dragon's ice breath was not only cold, but also had the terrifying effect of sucking the opponent's vitality. This was the most terrifying part of the undead creatures. At this time, Ling Xiao stood in the void. A pair of wings made of bones and frost grew out of his back. The cold and evil aura was constantly released. It made all the onlookers feel the terrible feeling of the end of the world. What a joke! How did Ling Xiao become so strong? Tianju Senhua was invincible under the age of 20? Hee, what a joke! What a cool transformation! So powerful! The Frost Dragon Beast Soul transformation was not only awe-inspiring, but also very powerful. Both the face and the strength were there. At this time, Phantom finally understood why Ling Xiao stopped her. Dealing with a mere Tianju Senhua, there was really no need for her to come out to help. Ling Xiao alone could easily deal with it. Looking at Mei Ruhu again, she was so scared that she retreated again and again. Even Tianju Senhua was not a match for Ling Xiao, let alone her. Ling Xiao, I want you to die. Both arms were almost completely crippled, and Tianju Senhua burst out a roar of incomparable hatred. It's useless for you to shout. I said not only you will die today, but the woman behind you will also die. Ling Xiao looked coldly at Tianju Senhua. In fact, if it was a smart person, he should have already seen that Tianju Senhua was definitely not a match for Ling Xiao. But the onlooker sees the game clearly, and the person involved is confused. Tianju Senhua absolutely did not want to admit that he would lose to a peer. Moreover, it was a small character who came out of an unknown small country. I won't die. Tianju Sanhua almost roared out. I was born in the Tianju Palace, and I have an advantage that you absolutely can't compare to. So what if I give you these arms? I have the Blood Soul Talisman. Do you have it? The Blood Soul Talisman was a spirit talisman that could continuously increase in power along with the user's strength. It was a spirit talisman that could fuse with a martial artist's soul. Let's see how you're going to block it. Finished speaking, the Heaven Extinction Scattering Flower actually directly crippled his own 2 arms. After that, a black light flew out from his soul realm. It grew with the wind and turned into a Blood Soul Talisman. The Blood Soul Talisman was 10 square meters. It gave off a disturbing aura. This is my Blood Soul Sword Talisman. My father spent countless offerings to get it from the experts of the immortal court continent, fusing with his own sword chi and sword intent, fusing with my soul. The power released is enough to directly kill a martial artist at the peak of the 18th level of hell in the first revolution of the Yin-Yang realm. Tianju Sanhua laughed crazily. The Blood Soul Sword Talisman began to release streaks of sharp sword chi in the air. The sword will soar into the sky, filled with a terrifying destructive power. What a powerful force! Is this the legendary Blood Soul symbol? He did not expect that the Heavenly Extinction Scattering Flowers was actually forced to such an extent by Ling Xiao. He even had to use his last trump card. No wonder the Heavenly Extinction Scattering Flower dared to say that he was invincible under the age of 20. It seems that it was because of this Blood Soul Sword Talisman. In everyone's opinion, Ling Xiao was indeed very strong, extremely powerful. It was rumored that his talent was even stronger than Empress Lan Meichen. Seeing it today, it was indeed so. But facing the Blood Soul Talisman, facing this kind of Blood Soul Talisman that only the people of the immortal court continent had, how could Ling Xiao be a match for him? Geniuses should keep a low profile. Otherwise, if they were too ostentatious, they would easily die. Blood Soul Talisman? I haven't used it for a long time. I really miss it. Ling Xiao sighed with emotion. His Blood Soul Talisman had always been in his soul realm, and it was 2 Blood Soul Talismans. 1 Blood Soul 18 Hell Talisman. 1 Blood Soul Dragon Talisman. He didn't use it in the past because he was afraid that he wasn't strong enough and would be targeted by his enemies. But now he had met and recognized Long Chen and Cold Plum. Even if he didn't use it, others could find him. So there was no need for him to be afraid. When it was time to use it, he would naturally use it. At present, the Blood Soul Dragon Talisman already had the dragon souls of the Immemorial Hell Dragon, Immemorial Natural Dragon, and Immemorial 5 Elements Dragon. However, it was still incomplete, and its power couldn't reach its peak. Furthermore, this primordial dragon soul was too hateful and enviable. So Ling Xiao didn't plan to use it. The Blood Soul 18 Hell Talisman was different. Now Ling Xiao had already cultivated to the first turn of the Yin-Yang realm, level 18 Hell. This Blood Soul 18 Hell Talisman was a terrifying Blood Soul Talisman that had gone through the first turn. Its power was truly powerful. No one below the peak of the first turn of the 18 Hell could defeat it. What do you mean? Hearing Ling Xiao's words, everyone was a little surprised. They thought that Ling Xiao had exhausted his abilities and couldn't resist the Heavenly Extinction Scattering Flowers Blood Soul Talisman. But hearing Ling Xiao's words, could it be that he also had a Blood Soul Talisman? Their doubts were quickly answered. Ling Xiao transformed into his Frost Dragon Beast soul, and a Blood Soul Talisman flew out of his soul realm. This Blood Soul Talisman grew with the wind. It was actually much bigger than the Heavenly Extinction Scattering Flowers Blood Soul Sword Talisman. This Blood Soul Talisman released a total of 18 Hell and the terrifying aura of the Yellow Spring Sea. Death, evil, fear. It's really a Blood Soul Talisman. What kind of Blood Soul Talisman is this? Why does it feel so powerful? It's much stronger than the heavenly extinction scattering flowers, blood, soul, sword talisman. Everyone looked at the huge blood soul talisman above Ling Zhao's head in surprise. 18 Hell's gates lit up in the blood soul talisman. Then they opened almost simultaneously. The moment they opened, the aura of hell was completely released. At that moment, many people felt as if they were already dead. So powerful, so abnormal. How can there be such a monster? People couldn't understand how Ling Xiao, who was just a martial artist from a small country, could get a blood soul talisman. And this blood soul talisman seemed to be even more powerful than the heavenly extinction scattering flowers, blood soul, sword talisman. This battle was probably going to surprise everyone again. Invincible under the age of 20? To think that you have the face to say it. How big is the mystic world? You're just born in a small place and don't know how many heroes there are. How many geniuses are there? You actually dare to say that you're invincible? Not only shameless, but also ignorant and laughable. Ling Xiao looked at the heavenly extinction scattering flower and said sarcastically, "Maybe it's because your father is the heavenly extinction king, so you're really spoiled. Your blood soul talisman came from the charity of the immortal court continent. It came from the fusion of your father's sword energy and sword intent. And my blood soul talisman was snatched by me personally and strengthened until today. I really don't know what qualifications you, a second-generation martial artist, lying on someone else's merit book, have to mock me as a martial artist from a small country? That's right, I'm indeed a martial artist from a small country. But as long as I can defeat you, that's enough." What a domineering young man, what a proud young man. Perhaps this was the key to him being able to grow all the way until today. Chapter 3091. Ling Zhao's words were like thunder in Tianju Sanhua's ears. At that moment, Tianju Sanhua even doubted himself. Was he really the strongest? Was he really an invincible existence under the age of 20? He relied on his family's advantage and obtained the blood soul talisman. He thought that he could firmly suppress Ling Xiao. However, in the end, he was still suppressed by the other party. As the 18 Hell talismans bloomed, Ling Xiao's aura became stronger and stronger. It covered the sky and the sun, destroying the world. It was as if he wanted to destroy the entire Tianju city. Kill! Ling Xiao raised his hand and waved it down. The huge 18 Hell talismans rushed towards Tianju Sanhua. The terrifying aura of hell filled the air and became denser. It was as if it wanted to bring everything into the space of death. Tianju Sanhua's face instantly turned pale. He found that his blood soul sword talisman was like a baby encountering a brave warrior in front of the 18 Hell talismans. It was constantly retreating, shrinking. It was even gradually devoured. It was unstoppable. Even the sword intent and sword chi from his father, Tianju King, could not resist the terrifying 18 Hell talismans. He was facing a disaster. "Spare me, I don't want anything. I can give you more heaven calamity jades." Seeing that the blood soul sword talisman was completely suppressed by the 18 Hell talismans, Tianju Sanhua finally felt that death was approaching. He was extremely terrified. If Ling Xiao did not stop, then he would definitely be killed by the terrifying blood soul talisman. He had to beg for mercy and tempt Ling Xiao with great benefits. That arrogant Tianju Sanhua actually begged for mercy. People could not believe their ears. The powerful and arrogant Tianju Sanhua. He was the absolute overlord of Tianju City. Almost no one dared to provoke him. He arrogantly gave Ling Xiao two choices. One was death, and the other was to die without an intact corpse. Everyone thought that Ling Xiao was doomed and that it was impossible for him to escape the clutches of Tianju Sanhua. They all thought that Ling Xiao was dead for sure. However, this ending was so unexpected. the heavens and scattered flowers, known as the Invincible under the age of 20, was actually unable to beat Ling Xiao. It was completely suppressed by Ling Xiao's strange and powerful Blood Soul rune. At this time, the heavens and scattering flowers actually abandoned his dignity in order to save his life. He wanted to beg for mercy and give Ling Xiao some benefits in exchange for his life. Haha, what's the point of saying all this now? Ling Xiao sneered disdainfully. Just now you wanted to kill me. You wanted me to die without an intact corpse. Now that you can't beat me, you want to beg for mercy and use the Heaven Calamity Jade in exchange for your life. How could there be such a cheap thing in this world? If you want to kill someone, you have to be prepared to be killed. Trash! If he let go of the Heaven's Extinction Flower today because of this, then in the future, those who had a little bit of capital could casually come up and slap him a few times and kick him a few times, begging for mercy when he couldn't win and then giving him something to settle the matter? Then what would he become? A masochist who could be bullied? His killing intent towards the heavens and scattering flowers had never changed from the beginning. Phantom's encounter had completely stimulated his killing intent. The heavens and scattering flowers must die. No, you can't kill me. I'm the son of the Heaven's End King, the young city, Lord of the Heavens End City. If you kill me, my father, including the Heavenly Sword Hall, won't let you off. Seeing that his Blood Soul Sword rune had been completely swallowed by the 18 Hell runes, the death aura of the 18 Hell runes was wrapping around his entire body. The heavens and scattering flowers was completely anxious. He was already speaking without thinking, shouting and shouting, only begging Ling Xiao to spare his life. He believed that the signboard of the Heavenly Sword Hall and his father, the Heaven's End King, was still useful. The reason why he dared to be so unbridled and bold, other than his own strength. Of course, more importantly, he had a powerful father. This father was his most powerful backer. His father was very protective. No matter what he did wrong, his father would clean up the mess for him. And the way to clean up the mess was to get rid of the other party. It was because of this that basically no one in the Heaven's End City dared to attack the heavens and scattering flowers. Even if the person was stronger than the Heaven's End King, they wouldn't dare. This was because the Heavenly Sword Hall was backing the Heaven's End King, and the Heavenly Sword Hall's protection of the Heaven's End King was also famous. Regardless of right or wrong, he had to get rid of the other party first to defend the dignity of the Heaven's End King residence. Unless Ling Xiao was crazy, he wouldn't dare to kill the Heaven's End scattering flowers. That would cause a series of chain reactions. The Heavenly Sword Hall would probably list him as a target that had to be eliminated. One had to know that even the powerful Spectre Mountain Villa and Firecloud Palace were once domineering and insufferably arrogant when they were so close to the Heaven's End City. However, they didn't dare to offend the Heaven's End King residents. They even celebrated the Heaven's End King's birthday every year. The two sect masters would personally come to the Heaven's End City to offer their blessings. However, if he was afraid of threats, he wouldn't be Ling Xiao. When you trampled on Phantom back then, you should have known that such a day would come for you. Don't worry, I won't kill you immediately. I'll let you suffer the pain of the 18 levels of hell using 18 different torture instruments. I'll let you understand what atrocities you have committed. As Ling Xiao spoke, he continued controlling the 18 hell talismans to envelop the heavens and scattering flowers. How dare you! Screams of terror rang out. Then the heavens and scattering flowers felt his body being sucked into the 18 hell talismans. From the first level of hell to the 18th level of hell, there were all kinds of punishments. He stared in horror at the strange scene in the inferno. His heart was already horrified to the extreme. Despair, regret, sorrow. He was really spoiled in the past. He never imagined that such a day would come for him. Ah! A shrill scream sounded from the 18 hell talismans. The heavens and scattering flowers had already begun the torture in hell. It was over. Everyone knew very well that unless Ling Xiao was killed, the Heaven's End Scattering Flowers would be completely done for if he was trapped in the Blood Soul Talisman. Not only would he not see the light of day, but he would also be tortured in hell until he died. Seeing this, Mong Rua Fox collapsed to the ground. However, Ling Xiao did not forgive her because of her fear. This vicious woman was originally an accomplice of the Heaven's End Scattering Flowers. Half of the evil deeds that the Heaven's End Scattering Flowers had done were due to this woman. If she did not die, the heavens would not tolerate it. No. Mong Rua Fox also disappeared. Ling Xiao put away the 18 hell talismans and sent them back into his spirit ocean. The scene suddenly became cold and cheerless. There was dead silence. Surprise! Too much surprise. Many people were still in a state of shock, unable to wake up even now. Phantom, who was in the beast ring, looked at this scene in shock. The Heaven's End Scattering Flowers, that arrogant guy, was finished so easily. She was wild with joy and astonishment, looking at Ling Xiao's proud and determined back. Phantom's beautiful eyes revealed a strange expression. Chapter 3092. Phantom felt that she was already a defiled person. How could she be worthy of such a proud and powerful man who abhorred evil? Suddenly, she was taken aback as though she thought of something. She shouted at Ling Xiao, "Ling Xiao, run! You killed Tianjua Sanhua. The people from Tianjua Royal Residence will definitely not let you off." Actually, just as Phantom was feeling extremely anxious, there were also people in the crowd who reminded Ling Xiao to run away quickly. Tianjua Royal Residence was definitely not to be trifled with. Not only was it the owner of Tianjua City, but it was also the strongest faction, stronger than Spectre Manor and Fire Cloud Palace. Tianjua Royal Residence had more than 10,000 people. Tianjua King wasn't the only expert. Apart from Tianjua King, who was a life-sizer expert, there were also 3 personal guard commanders who were experts at the peak of the 18 levels of hell. There were also more than a dozen experts at the early to late stages of the 18 levels of hell. Although Ling Xiao was very strong and had extremely terrifying talent, he was alone. However, with just him alone, even with the help of Phantom, it was impossible for him to be a match for Zhen Ji's Tianju Palace. Ling Xiao also knew the severity of the situation. However, before he could leave, Tianjua Royal Residence's army had arrived. However, Ling Xiao wasn't afraid of numbers. What he was more fearful of was that there were indeed experts at the 18 levels of hell among the people from Tianjua Royal Residence. There was 1 at the peak, 3 at the late stages, and 7 at the middle and early stages. Tianjua King didn't seem to be here. Only one of the 3 personal guard commanders came. Could it be that the matter at the Tianjua ruins had attracted all the experts from Tianjua Royal Residence? Ling Xiao originally planned to escape, but when he sensed the strength of his opponent, he suddenly didn't want to leave. In fact, as long as Tianjua King wasn't around, he wasn't afraid of these people. He would destroy as many as came. The crowd of onlookers quickly made way and ran further away, fearing that they would be caught in the crossfire. With Tianjua Sanhua's fate unknown, the people from Tianjua Royal Residence would definitely be enraged. They might even hurt people. No one was willing to be implicated by a lunatic. The leader of the army was one of the 3 great commanders of the Tianju Palace, Commander Tianju. Not only was Commander Tianju one of the 3 great commanders, he was also Tianju's uncle. Knowing about the matter of the Heaven Extinction Scattering Flower, how could he not be furious? Ling Xiao, come out and face your death. Outside the Rare Goods building, Commander Tianju roared angrily. His voice was like a flash flood, forceful and terrifying. The unique goods tower, which was on the verge of collapsing due to Ling Xiao's bombardment, completely collapsed due to the terrifying sound. So powerful, as expected of a martial artist at the peak of the 18 levels of hell in the first revolution of the Yin Yang realm. This strength was absolutely much stronger than the heaven extinction scattering flower young city lord. Ling Xiao is out of luck. Everyone looked at this scene in surprise. Ling Xiao was really too unlucky for not being able to escape in time. The battle that followed was not something that a young man like Ling Xiao could handle. What a noisy dog! Ling Xiao was actually not in the auction house at all. He simply sat on the ruins, picked up a bottle of good wine that he had rescued from the auction house, and tasted it. He completely ignored the people below. Ling Xiao, let me fight with you. I am fine now. Phantom said. All right. Ling Xiao released Phantom. No matter what, Phantom was a martial artist at the 18 levels of hell in the first revolution of the Yin-Yang realm. She could still be of help. Kill them. The man must die, and the woman must be alive. Commander Tianju gave the order with a cold and cruel expression. No one knew why he wanted Phantom alive, but this whole family was probably the same. They wouldn't do anything bad. Yes. They shouted in unison. In the formation, a group of martial artists all charged forward. These people were around the 17th level of the Yin-Yang realm in the first revolution of the Yin-Yang realm. There were about 100 of them, trying to make up for their weakness in strength with their advantage in numbers. Let me do it! Phantom's figure flashed and disappeared instantly. When she appeared again, she had already turned into hundreds of afterimages. She flashed among the hundreds of martial artists. Then she returned to normal. At that moment, the killing intent rose to the extreme. Hundreds of martial artists fell to the ground at the same time and rolled down from the ruins. Screams rose and fell one after another. Everyone's throat had been stabbed by a sword. This Phantom was an expert in assassin-type combat. But, like Ling Xiao, she liked to stab people's throats. 100 people rushed up, and all of them died. This made Commander Tianju's face even gloomier. How dare you attack the people of Tianju Mansion? It seems that you are really tired of living. Commander Tianju was furious. Idiot! I have killed Tianju's Sanhua. What is killing a few pawns? Besides, Sister Phantom and I are both on the bounty list. Even if today's incident didn't happen, do you think Heavenly Sword Hall will let us go? Ling Xiao looked at Commander Tianju in disdain and sneered. Archers, get ready. Shoot them. Don't leave anyone alive. Originally, Commander Tianju wanted to keep Phantom alive so that he could have a taste of this woman. But now it seemed that there was no need for that, and there was no possibility of that. Therefore, he was prepared to kill Ling Xiao and Phantom at the same time. It's okay. Watch me. You drink a few cups first. Ling Xiao was still sitting there and said to Phantom casually, This wine is not bad. It can also improve one's skills. Unfortunately, it can't be completely saved. That big fool is simply wasting God's gift. He wasn't talking nonsense. This wine seemed to be a special medicinal wine. It was similar to the food that he encountered in the White Tiger continent. Ling Xiao only drank a few mouthfuls and felt that the energy in his cultivation had increased by 10%. The effect of the medicine was very strong. Seeing that Ling Xiao was not paying any attention to them, Commander Tianju was even more furious. Seeing that the archers were ready, he raised his right hand and then put it down fiercely. Shoot! As he shouted Ling Xiao, nearly 10,000 arrows pierced through the air and covered the sky like locusts. They didn't give Ling Xiao and Phantom any chance to escape. Ling Xiao raised his head and smiled. A blood soul talisman flew out from the top of his head. It was actually the blood soul sword talisman that was swallowed by the 18 hell talisman. Although this blood soul sword talisman was relatively weak, it had the terrifying power to kill a martial artist at the peak of the 18 hell level 1 yin-yang state. When Ling Xiao used it, the power was even more terrifying. Sword essence skyrocketed. Sword chi across autumn. Thousands of sword chi shot down from the sky. The dense swarm collided with the locust-like arrows and easily shattered the arrows. Then the sword chi fell into the crowd and began a one-sided massacre. Ah! Shrill screams sounded again. And this time the sound was louder than before, and the range was also larger. Nearly 1,000 people were injured by the terrifying sword chi and fell into a pool of blood. Chapter 3093. The Blood Soul Sword Talisman exploded with countless sword chi. The person who was responsible for killing Ling Xiao was either dead or injured. It was a complete defeat. Ling Xiao sat back down and drank with Phantom. He did not intend to leave so soon. Since he guessed that the top experts were not around, there would be no danger for the time being. He could make use of this opportunity to increase his strength. When it was time to leave, he would leave. But not now. Looks like it won't be as easy to kill Ling Xiao as we had imagined. Ling Xiao's strength is much stronger than we had expected. The crowd was whispering among themselves. More than 10,000 people from Tianjua Mansion came, but thousands of them died in an instant. It seemed like if Commander Tianju did not take action, there would be more casualties. Ling Xiao purposely sat there and drank. He was obviously mocking the people from Tianjua Mansion for being useless. Courting death. Commander, let me kill that brat. He's too arrogant. A deputy commander from Tianjua Mansion could not hold it in any longer. He was a rank 1 Yin Yang realm, level 18 of hell, but he had to endure such humiliation. How could he take it? You can't do it alone. Both of you go together. Commander Tianju was already wary of Ling Xiao. He did not want his men to die. Since he had already lost face, it did not matter anymore. Sending 2 late-stage martial artists of the 18 levels of hell to deal with Ling Xiao should be enough to secure victory, right? Both of them were not weaker than Tianju's flower. Their combat experience was more than 10 years more than Tianju's flower. Commander, you think too highly of that brat. If word gets out that the 2 of us are going to deal with him, Tianjua Mansion's reputation will be tarnished. The deputy commander who spoke first said unhappily, "Listen to my orders. Otherwise, I will do it myself." Commander Tianju said coldly, "All right." Left with no choice, the 2 deputy commanders decided to join forces. At this moment, Ling Xiao stood up slowly. However, he did not ask Phantom for help. These 2 opponents were materials that he could use to increase his strength. Phantom could not get involved. Kill! The 2 of them roared and released their martial spirits. Long swords appeared in their hands as they attacked Ling Xiao from both sides. Ling Xiao did not transform either. He just stood there. He allowed the 2 of them to approach. When he felt that it was about time, he pointed 2 fingers at the 2 vice commanders. The black tortoise divine body automatically activated. The power of the earth gathered at his fingertip, forming a thin line that looked like a sharp sword chi. Ding! Ding! 2 crisp sounds were heard. This caused everyone to be shocked once again. Ling Xiao had actually blocked the attacks of 2 deputy commanders with just his fingers. Wasn't that a little too valiant? Oh, I'm coming. The energy that penetrated Ling Xiao's body from his fingertips instantly stimulated his potential to resist and fuse with it. Ling Xiao's cultivation sea's energy had increased by a bit, but it was only about 1/10. It seemed that the opponent was still too weak. Otherwise, if the 2 of them attacked together, their energy should have increased by at least 10%. You 2 trash! You're not even as good as Tianju's scattering flower. Die! Since there was no help, Ling Xiao would not hold back. The terrifying withering force penetrated the opponent's long sword and instantly reached their bodies. The 2 vice commanders turned into dried corpses in an instant and fell to the ground. Then they shattered and turned into a pile of gravel. The scene was a little scary. What? The crowd of onlookers were all scared silly. The two vice commanders of Tianju Mansion were killed by Ling Xiao in one move. Moreover, they died in such a strange way. Compared to a few days ago, Ling Xiao could not be mentioned in the same breath. Let me warn you guys. The current me has reached the early stage of level 18 of Hell in Yin Yang realm, not the early stage of level 17 of Hell, like a few days ago. You guys better think carefully before you attack. Ling Xiao looked at the people of Tianju Mansion arrogantly and overbearingly. So his cultivation has broken through. But how did he improve so quickly? This speed is simply heaven-defying. The crowd discussed animatedly, and their view of Ling Xiao improved again. Just the early stage of level 18 of Hell in Yin Yang realm. What's there to be proud of? Go to hell. This time, Commander Tianju finally took action personally, because he could not watch the morale of Tianju Mansion's martial artists fall to the bottom. He had to fight for it. As he spoke, he rose into the air. This guy's martial soul was actually the same as Tianju's scattering flower. It was a giant palm, and it was as black as ink. As the martial soul bloomed, his aura instantly soared to the extreme. He did not hold back because he wanted Ling Xiao to die. Speed, strength. Commander Tianju was definitely far beyond Tianju's scattering flower, so this attack was also extremely powerful. However, Ling Xiao still only revealed an indifferent smile, seeing Commander Tianju attacking. He instantly entered the undying bird beast soul transformation state, but he still did not take out his sword. He only blasted out with both palms. The palm wind contained strange fire and violent sand. Under the fusion, it was very strange. Boom! Ling Xiao's palms collided with Commander Tianju's palms. The ruins under his feet collapsed once again, and even a part of it directly turned into dust. Ling Xiao took a step back. Although Commander Tianju did not retreat, his face was very ugly. The heavenly flame had already charred his hands. The intense pain made him feel as if his heart and lungs were being torn apart. But he was not a weakling after all. He activated his internal force and directly shook off the strange fire. Floating in the air, he looked at Ling Xiao coldly. The surprise that Ling Xiao gave him was simply too great. He personally took action, but he could not kill the other party. It seemed that he had to work harder. Demon Buddha's hand, fuse! Commander Tianju also chose martial soul fusion, and then fought with Ling Xiao again. The two fought from the ruins to the sky, and from the sky to the ruins. The onlookers were all dumbfounded and shocked. They also found it hard to believe that Ling Xiao was actually able to fight evenly with Commander Tianju. This was too hard to accept. The battle lasted for more than 10 minutes. Ling Xiao's cultivation sea energy had soared to 50% this time. This Commander Tianju in front of him was still very powerful. But that was the end of it. Xiao Jin, send him to death. Ling Xiao wanted to kill Commander Tianju, unless he entered the infinite heavenly rat beast soul transformation or continued for a long time. But he didn't want to waste that time. Anyway, he had Xiao Jin with him. Let Xiao Jin deal with it. It was just a mouthful of golden light. Retreat. Suddenly, Commander Tianju keenly felt danger. From Ling Xiao's beast ring, a terrifying golden light was released. This golden light definitely had the terrifying power to completely melt him. He retreated quickly, but it was still useless. He could only watch his body be completely wrapped in a ball of golden light. He couldn't escape and felt that his body was melting. Chapter 3094. He was one of the 3 commanders of the Tianju Mansion, a martial artist at the peak of the 18th level of Hell. He was extremely powerful. He was also extremely confident. However, at this moment, he could only watch as his body was being melted bit by bit. His life force was being drained away. The fear of watching himself die without being able to do anything about it made his body twitch, and tremble. He was here to take revenge on Ling Xiao. He was here to take revenge for Tianju's scattered flowers. However, he never dreamed that more than half of the people he brought with him would die in the hands of his opponent. What kind of monster was this Ling Xiao? What kind of existence was he? The onlookers fell into a state of shock. They watched helplessly as Commander Tianju fell from the sky and struggled in the flames. After a few seconds, he was completely burned to ashes. Tianju died just like that. Wasn't he quite domineering just now? Wasn't he quite confident? He could have fought Ling Xiao to a standstill just now. How did he die so quickly? Could it be that Ling Xiao was just playing with him? Ling Xiao's cultivation is definitely not at the early stage of the 18th level of hell. I suspect that he has reached the first life-seizing stage. Otherwise, how could he kill Tianju so easily? I think so too. Could he have been pretending to be weak all along? From the moment he arrived in Tianju City, Tianju Mansion was destined to be destroyed. This was the thought of the onlookers. At the same time, this was also the thought of the martial artists of Tianju Mansion. At this moment, they were extremely frightened. They looked at Ling Xiao with fear in their eyes. Run. How could they win against a life-sizer? Therefore, soon, some of the martial artists had the idea of running away. A group of people fled, frantically. In an instant, they disappeared without a trace. Ling Xiao had no intention of chasing them. He had already killed the mastermind who came for revenge, so he was too lazy to kill more. Of course, if they dared to cause trouble for him again, Ling Xiao would definitely not show any mercy at that time. Ling Xiao, should we leave now? Phantom asked. Don't worry, the best part is yet to come. Ling Xiao's lips curled into a cold smile as he continued to drink. Just a Heaven's End grade commander was enough to increase his cultivation C's energy by 50%. What would happen if even stronger people arrived? After a short while, the people from the Tianju Mansion, who were still in the Tianju City, all came out. Some of the people who had escaped earlier had disappeared. They were probably running for their lives, but there was still a part that came back. Among them were the vice commanders. Looks like they're really prepared to die. A cold light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. These vice commanders had returned, and he had to kill them. The crowd retreated once again, opening up a path for the people from Tianju Palace. This time, the person who came to make trouble for Ling Xiao was a woman. This woman was dignified and beautiful. Her appearance gave off the feeling of a well-bred young lady. Isn't that Princess Tianjue? She was the princess of the Sword Dynasty and had married the Tianju king. She's also very powerful. Ling Xiao wouldn't dare to not give face to her. After all, who would dare to touch the princess of the Sword Dynasty? Among the crowd, there were people who recognized the woman, and they all cried out in alarm. Princess? Princess? Ling Xiao smiled. He was afraid that today was not going to be kind. He had killed someone else's son, and she had come to avenge him. How could he be kind? Rumor had it that Princess Tianjue's strength was second only to the Tianju king in the Tianju Mansion. Although she hadn't reached the life-seizing realm, her fighting strength was definitely more terrifying than the three commanders. You're Ling Xiao? You killed my son, Tianju Flower? Princess Tianjue stood under the ruins, looking at Ling Xiao and scolding him. That's right. That little bastard deserved to die. He raped a good woman and wanted to kill me. Isn't it fair that I killed him? Ling Xiao said indifferently. My son, even if he humiliates your woman in front of you, you can't kill him. You don't even have the right to hit him. Princess Tianjue said coldly. Hee, how shameless. What a shameless woman. It seems that your Tianju family is all the same. Tianju, I think Tianju wants your family to die. Ling Xiao didn't intend to kill the woman. After all, it was natural for a mother to care about her son. However, he didn't expect Princess Tianjue to say such shameless words. This woman would be a disaster for his mother if he kept her alive. He guessed that most of the women Tianjue flower played with were related to this woman. "I'm afraid you don't have the ability," Princess Tianjue said coldly. "Whether I have the ability or not, you'll know after you try. Phantom, Xiao Jin kill. Those who just left and returned. Don't leave a single one alive." Ling Xiao snorted coldly, and his figure instantly disappeared. As for Xiao Jin and Phantom, they turned into two beams of light, one golden and one black. They plunged into the crowd and began a massacre. Ling Xiao faced Princess Tianjue. In less than a minute, Ling Xiao and Princess Tianjue exchanged dozens of moves, and it could be said that he was at a disadvantage. But at the same time, the energy in his sea of cultivation had soared to 90%. Princess Tianjue was really powerful. She was definitely a genius-level warrior. She was much stronger than Commander Tianjue at the same cultivation level. "Stop!" Ling Xiao instantly returned to the ruins. Xiao, Jin, and Phantom also flew back there. On the ground, it was a mess. Those who had returned from Tianjue Palace were all killed, and their corpses fell to the ground. Do you think you can stop and fight just because you want to? Seeing so many people on her side being killed, Princess Tianjue was furious. She flew up and attacked Ling Xiao, trying to kill Ling Xiao. However, at that moment, the storage ring on Ling Xiao's finger suddenly released a terrifying heat. Princess Tianjue was shocked and hurriedly retreated back to her original position. She was extremely shocked. What was that just now? It actually made her feel the threat of death. She couldn't help but be afraid. She ordered all her subordinates not to move and just surrounded Ling Xiao and Phantom. She seemed to be waiting for something. Not long after, suddenly, a group of black-clothed people flew in the sky. The aura of these people was a bit like young Master Yuling. It made people feel cold and sinister as well as terrifying. There were also nearly 1,000 people. It turns out that Princess Tianjue was waiting for the people of Mansion of Spirits. They actually want to join forces to deal with Ling Xiao. Everyone suddenly realized, yes, young Master Yuling was killed. How could the people of Mansion of Spirits just stand by and watch? They must come today. If they didn't kill Ling Xiao, how could they give up? Princess Tianjue, why don't you make a move? The leader of the Mansion of Spirits, seeing Princess Tianjue standing there and only surrounding but not attacking, couldn't help but ask in confusion. Chapter 3095. Ghost Mermaid. Are you here? Where's your master? Princess Tianjue was a little disappointed when she saw him. Hearing this, Ghost Mermaid was a little unhappy. He glanced at Princess Tianjue and said, "Why, as one of the 3 Grand Elders of Mansion of Spirits, I'm not worthy of your attention." Although Ghost Mermaid was a little afraid of Princess Tianjue, it was not because of her strength, but because of the existence of King Tianjue. Otherwise, he would have already made his move after hearing what this woman had said. Although young Master Spectre was the son of the Master, he was also his grandson. He was the disciple that he cultivated, but he was killed by Ling Xiao. Of course, he had to come. As for his master, of course, he was going for the Ice Supreme catalog. There were many strong people gathered in Tianjue ancient ruins now. Elder Ghost Mermaid, you must be joking. It's not that I don't think you're qualified, but that Ling Xiao is really difficult to deal with. Princess Tianjue frowned and said, she didn't show any mercy when she fought with Ling Xiao. Although she had the upper hand, she still couldn't take him down. And at the last time, the terrible heat released from Ling Xiao's storage ring even made her feel the threat of death. That was really terrifying. She had to be careful. If that's the case, you don't have to worry. Just stand aside and watch. I'll kill him. Ghost Mermaid seemed to be quite disdainful of Princess Tianjue and said coldly, Princess Tianjue reminded him, "You have to pay the price for underestimating the enemy." "Humph, you don't have to remind me. I have my reasons," Ghost Mermaid said coldly. Princess Tianjue was unhappy, but considering that they had the same goal today, she didn't say anything. And she had thought about it, with her and Ghost Mermaid here. Even if Ling Xiao was difficult to deal with, he shouldn't be so powerful. "You too. If you want to kill him, how can you leave me out?" Just when Princess Tianjue and Ghost Mermaid were about to join hands to deal with Ling Xiao, a voice suddenly came from afar. A man was wrapped in black clothes. His whole body seemed to be wrapped in bandages, only showing a pair of eyes. There was a ghost fire burning in his eyes. He landed, standing between Ghost Mermaid and Princess Tianjue. "Who the hell are you? How dare you sit on the same level as the two of us?" The Ghost Mermaid had a hot temper. He didn't dare to touch Princess Tianjue, but he wouldn't give any face to this man. He actually brandished the long sword in his hand and stabbed it towards the person who had come. The man turned around, looked at Ghost Mermaid, then suddenly reached out a hand. That hand was also wrapped in bandages, coiled in black mist. It exuded an extremely eerie and terrifying aura. Rumble. This time, the two of them were actually evenly matched. That surprised Ghost Mermaid greatly. "Now, am I qualified?" The person sneered. "Who are you?" "Hiding the head and showing the tail is not a good man." Ghost Mermaid frowned and said he didn't want to fight anymore. The other party was indeed very strong. He felt that the other party was even stronger than him. "Hero, we besieged a junior. We weren't good men," the newcomer said sarcastically. "But I can tell you, my name is Amami Anio. I was once the emperor of the White Tiger continent. My son, Amami Tyranny, was also a first-rate genius of the White Tiger continent. But the appearance of one person caused me to lose my homeland, making me neither human nor ghost. He thought I was dead, but I turned into a ghost and was reborn. Today, I'm here to take revenge." "The person you're talking about isn't that kid Ling Xiao, right?" Ghost Mermaid asked. "Yes, it's him. I've been looking for his whereabouts, but this kid is very smart. He basically didn't use the moves he used in the White Tiger continent. But not long ago, he met the thief Long Chen and Cold Plum of the Heavenly Empire, which made me finally confirm it. He's that Ling Xiao. That Ling Xiao who disappeared after becoming a demon. He didn't die, but entered the reincarnation and came to the Black Tortoise continent." Amami Anio looked at Ling Xiao gloomily. The ghost fire in his eyes had turned blood red, revealing an extremely strong hatred and resentment. "Hee Amami Anio, I really didn't know that was your name. Since you were lucky enough to survive, you should obediently spend the rest of your life. Why did you come here to seek death?" Ling Xiao thought of this person. Wasn't it the king of the Amami? Amami Tyranny's father. He thought that this guy was already dead, but he didn't expect that not only was he not dead, his strength seemed to have become stronger. Back then, this guy's strength was much stronger than his. Now that he entered the reincarnation cycle, he was caught up by him. It could be seen that things like talent were still very important. "Seeking death? The one who's going to die today is you. Arrogant kid. Do you think you're still the same as before, with that Moon Maiden protecting you?" Amami Anio roared. "Moon Maiden's name, is it something you're qualified to mention?" Ling Xiao said coldly, "Looking at your current appearance, you're neither human nor ghost. I'm afraid that you've cultivated some weird martial arts. You're willing to go all out for revenge. But today, unfortunately, you won't have the chance. Why do you think I dared to reveal my true identity? Why do you think I've been hiding for so long? But now I'm not hiding anymore. It's because I'm no longer afraid of you former enemies." Ling Xiao, this guy, why does he still look so confident? He's facing 3 martial artists at the peak of Yin Yang Realm's 18 levels of hell. And these 3 are all stronger than the previous commander Tianjue. Everyone looked at Ling Xiao. looked at his calm expression and found it hard to understand. At this time, how could Ling Xiao still be so calm? Was he really confident, or was he just bluffing? How about it? The two of you, give him to me. I've waited for this day for too long. Amami Anio said to Princess Tianju and Gui Xiao, as long as he can die, I don't care. Gui Xiao shook his head. He only wanted Ling Xiao to die. As for who killed him, he didn't care. Me too. Princess Tianju knew that she couldn't kill Ling Xiao, so she might as well do him a favor and give Ling Xiao's life to Amami Anio. Thank you. Amami Anio took a step forward and suddenly released black shadows under his feet. These black shadows touched the dead martial artists of Tianju's mansion and made them stand up. As long as there were corpses, they all stood up again. Resurrection of the dead? No, they've become zombies. People were surprised to find that Amami Anio could make the dead martial artists fight for him. This should be the power of his martial soul. You said that I've cultivated a weird martial art. You're wrong. Amami Anio looked at Ling Xiao and said, the reason why I'm like this is because after I reincarnated, I even changed my martial soul. My current martial soul is Undead Warlock. It can control the dead. Just wait to be tortured to death by my undead warriors. Chapter 3096. Tian Haigui's ability was really frightening. No wonder he was so confident. He came here alone and didn't even bring his subordinates. Insignificant skill, not worth mentioning. Ling Xiao mocked. Your so-called undead warrior is just the soul power released by the undead warlock martial spirit to control the dead. Playing this kind of trick in front of me, it's really laughable. While speaking, he took a step forward and was about to fight Tian Haigui. However, he was stopped by Xiao Jin. Boss, leave this guy to me. My strength has broken through so much, and I haven't really fought yet. It's a good time to hone my combat skills. Well, you're not afraid of him. Ling Xiao smiled and raised the storage ring in his hand. Xiao Jin rose into the air. It grew in the wind and turned into a huge golden crow, radiating light in all directions. It's actually a demon beast at the peak of 1 star, 18 levels of hell. Seeing Xiao Jin, everyone was shocked. They had been puzzled. Ling Xiao was obviously not strong. How could he kill Tianju commander and be evenly matched with Tianju princess? But now they understood. All of this was due to Xiao Jin. It must be. I didn't expect you to raise such an evil beast. But he can stop me. But he can't stop the other two. You still have to die. Tian Haigui was very clear about Xiao Jin's strength, because he could feel it. This Xiao Jin would not be weaker than him. Ling Xiao, although my strength is not as good as Tianju princess, I can help you stall him. Kill that ghost mermaid first, and then help me. Phantom stood out and said, well, then I'll have to trouble you. Ling Xiao dealing with Tianju princess and ghost mermaid alone was a bit troublesome. But if it was just one-on-one, it would be much simpler. This woman is really courting death. She's only at the middle stage of the 18 levels of hell. How can she be a match for Tianju princess? I guess she can't last 10 moves. This was everyone's judgment, including Ling Xiao. Phantom also knew that she couldn't last 10 moves. But it didn't matter. He would kill Ghost Mermaid within 3 moves and then help Phantom. As long as Phantom could hold on for 10 moves, it would be enough. Are you not going to make a move? Ghost Mermaid Elder of Ghost Mountain Villa, I will kill you within 3 moves. Ling Xiao's frivolous and domineering voice resounded in the streets, causing everyone to be stunned. 3 moves? He was merely at the first turn of Yin and Yang stage, the early stage of the 18th floor of hell. How could he be so arrogant as to say that he could kill Ghost Mermaid and Ghost Mermaid within 3 moves? Was this a joke? However, from Ling Xiao's eyes, they could not see any hint of a joke. His eyes were sharp and cold, filled with determination and confidence. He had to finish this ghost mermaid within 3 moves. Otherwise, Phantom would certainly be in danger. Even though Phantom could withstand 10 moves, it was still too late. But that was under the condition of being seriously injured. Ling Xiao wanted Phantom to be uninjured or lightly injured. Therefore, he had to finish this ghost mermaid within 3 moves. It had to be done, no matter what. Ling Xiao is too arrogant and conceited. That Phantom is also courting death. However, the battle between Tianhai Unio and the Golden Crow demonic beast is quite interesting. In the eyes of the onlookers, Ling Xiao and Phantom were both overestimating themselves. Only the battle between Xiao, Jin, and Tianhai Unio was worth watching. Ghost Mermaid was very angry. He had a fiery temper to begin with, and now he was like a barrel of gunpowder that could explode at any time. Ling Xiao's words were absolutely an insult to him. A guy at the early stage of the 18th level of Hell not only wanted to fight with him, but also wanted to finish the battle within 3 moves. It was simply arrogant to the extreme. This old man is not as arrogant as you, but within 10 moves, I will definitely kill you. Behind Ghost Mermaid, a ferocious shark appeared. That was his martial spirit. To be honest, he really wanted to say that he would kill Ling Xiao in 1 move, but the old man still left himself a way out. This move was too risky. If the opponent dodged or defended with some magic treasure, then he would lose face. But within 10 moves, he dared to guarantee that he would definitely kill Ling Xiao. The black shark released waves of water, and the surroundings of Ghost Mermaid's body seemed to have turned into a vast ocean. This martial spirit could actually change the surrounding environment. It was really very powerful. The giant shark's eyes were ferocious, staring at Ling Xiao. Its sharp eyes were like the edge of a blade. Let's begin. Tianhai Unio smiled coldly and waved his hand. Black gas lingered around, and all the undying warriors rushed toward Xiao Jin. At the same time, Princess Tianjue also charged towards Phantom. She was very satisfied with this opponent. Not only was she very weak, but she was also the culprit that caused her son to be imprisoned by Ling Xiao. I don't need 10 moves. I will kill you in 3 moves. Princess Tianjue sneered. Her whole body released an icy cold aura, and a long sword appeared in her hand. She was the princess of Tianjue King, but she was also the princess of Sword Dynasty, so her martial spirit was naturally the same as the royal family. Sword Tomb, that was her martial spirit. Behind her, a terrifying shadow of a tomb appeared. This tomb was full of all kinds of treasured swords. Princess Tianjue activated her internal force, and the surrounding air became sharp, turning into sword chi. She wanted to kill Phantom before Ghost Mermaid killed Ling Xiao. She wanted to make Ling Xiao suffer and make Ling Xiao helpless. Boom! Ghost Mermaid finally launched an attack. His violent sword stabbed out like the roar of a whale shark in the deep sea. Wrapped in monstrous waves, it rushed towards Ling Xiao. It's Ling Xiao's bad luck to encounter such a martial spirit. Everyone shook their heads. In a battle in the water, most martial artists would be at a disadvantage, unable to exert their true strength. Ling Xiao should be no exception, but they were wrong. Ling Xiao's undying bird beast soul transformation transformed into a frost dragon beast soul transformation. The water rushing towards him was instantly frozen, unable to move an inch. Only the sword Qi hit Ling Xiao's fists. Ling Xiao was pushed back more than 10 steps. Good. 1 move. His so-called 3 moves to kill the opponent was not 3 moves by himself, but a total of 3 moves by both of them. Therefore, Ghost Mermaid's attack was also counted. Damn guy, are you looking down on me? Ghost Mermaid was furious. He chose to transform into a beast soul transformation. The black shark merged into his body. His body became weird and ferocious. The long sword in his hand also became as scary as a shark. Ghost Mermaid's sword, Shark Sky. With a roar, Ghost Mermaid attacked again. That weird long sword began to absorb the surrounding water elements continuously. Even the blood in Ling Xiao's body seemed to be sucked away by the long sword. What a powerful move! This is Ghost Mermaid's famous skill. After his sword turned into Ghost Mermaid sword, it can continuously absorb any liquid, including water elements and the blood in the opponent's body. It makes the opponent's blood boil and unable to fight with all his strength. Ling Xiao is going to be in trouble. The audience felt that Ling Xiao was in trouble, but Ling Xiao's expression revealed a touch of strangeness. The blood in his wound flew out bit by bit and merged into the opponent's Ghost Mermaid sword. Chapter 3097 Breakthrough. Ghost Merman's sword hit Ling Xiao's arms. Although Ling Xiao stepped back and blood appeared on his body. However, it was also because of this attack that Ling Xiao achieved a breakthrough. From the early stage of the 18th level of Hell, Yin Yang realm, to the middle stage of the 18th level of Hell. It's time to end this. I said, I'll kill you in 3 moves, so I'll kill you in 3 moves. Ling Xiao suddenly pulled out the demon dragon sword, pointing at Ghost Merman. Strange flame sword technique, black flame sword. The exploding sword energy, wrapped in the strong strange flame, rushed to Ghost Merman. Even Sky Si Gui Sheng and Ghost Mermaid didn't see it clearly. When Ghost Merman wanted to dodge, suddenly he felt something in his body. The bloodthirsty germs hindered his movement. Even if it was only for a moment, it was enough to kill him. The exploding flame sword evaporated the ocean and pierced through Ghost Merman's throat. Ghost Merman didn't even make a sound. He fell to the ground and died. How can it be? People looked at the scene in shock. Although there were enough surprises today, they still couldn't understand why Ling Xiao could kill Ghost Merman in 3 moves. And the so-called 3 moves, 2 of them were Ghost Merman's own. So domineering. What a terrifying young man. The development of the matter was beyond people's expectation again. Ling Xiao wasn't killed by Ghost Merman. Instead, he fulfilled his prophecy of killing Ghost Merman in 3 moves. To be precise, he did it in 1 move. This fellow had created yet another terrifying miracle. With the early stage of the 18th level of Hell, Yin Yang realm, he let Ghost Merman take 2 moves. In the last move, he turned defeat into victory and ended the life of a warrior at the peak of the 18th level of Hell. With this sword strike, the way people looked at Ling Xiao was different again. Worship, awe, fear. They had completely regarded Ling Xiao as the top existence in the 18th level of Hell. Those so-called geniuses couldn't compare with him. On the other side, the battle stopped abruptly. Phantom was panting and had many wounds on her body, but they weren't serious. She had already gritted her teeth and was ready to take 10 moves. But she didn't expect Ling Xiao to really kill Ghost Merman in 3 moves. It was so direct and efficient that it was admirable. This was a real genius. Compared to him, Empress Lan, Mei Chen, Tianjue, Sanhua, they weren't on the same level. Princess Tianjue felt fear, incomparable fear. Ghost Merman was definitely more powerful than her, but he was killed by Ling Xiao. How could she be a match for Ling? As for Kisei Amami, his eyes were bursting with even more intense hatred. Monster, he's still a monster. Even in the Black Tortoise continent, he's still the same. I guarantee you'll die. Back in the White Tiger continent, he had neglected the existence of this youth. He thought Tianhai Tianza was Tianza, but he was wrong. Unfortunately, he was wrong. Ling Xiao's outstanding performance not only completely defeated his son, but also took away his dynasty, his empire. Today he had to kill Ling Xiao. Otherwise, his son Heavenly Ocean tyranny would be completely suppressed by Ling Xiao in the Black Tortoise continent. He couldn't accept it. You dare to look around when you're fighting with me? Little Gold's voice suddenly sounded, and a golden light shone on Tianhai Gui Sheng's body. Tianhai Guisheng's whole body burned and turned into a pool of pus. You can go. Princess Tianjue suddenly said. Go. Ling Xiao looked at Princess Tianjue and said, I seem to remember you just said you want to make me suffer. You want to make me despair, right? Spare people when possible. Don't go too far. Killing me won't do you any good. Princess Tianjue's expression changed. She didn't expect Ghost Merman and Tianhai Guisheng to die. This was too surprising. Now you're afraid? When you had the upper hand, you didn't seem to want to spare my life, did you? Ling Xiao said coldly. Don't worry, I'll give you a quick death. He couldn't spare Princess Tianjue. This woman just thought that he would be killed by Ghost Merman, so she tried to kill Phantom to make him suffer and despair. What if he let such a vicious woman go? He smiled coldly and walked towards Princess Tianjue. However, at this moment there was a sudden change. The pool of pus on the ground, which belonged to Tianhai Guisheng, suddenly burst out. It shot towards Ling Xiao. Not dead. Ling Xiao didn't look back, but his powerful soul force had already detected the existence of the enemy. He raised his hand coldly, and a ball of fire rose above his palm. He was going to burn Tianhai Guisheng to death. But the change happened again. When Tianhai Guisheng was 3 meters away from him, he suddenly changed his direction and rushed towards Princess Tianjue. The distance was too close, and Princess Tianjue didn't expect such a change at all. She was hit directly by the pus. No, Princess Tianjue exclaimed, but it was useless. At this time, Princess Tianjue's body was gradually turning into pus. Then, a figure gradually appeared in this pile of pus. Without the black clothes, without the white bandages, Tianhai Guisheng's true appearance was completely exposed in front of everyone. This guy was like a pile of mud. Although he had turned into a human form, there was still mud-like stuff dripping from his body. And the most terrifying thing was that after he swallowed Princess Tianjue, his strength actually increased a lot. Princess Tianjue had completely disappeared. What a terrifying martial spirit. It can actually be like this. Everyone fled into the distance, as if they were afraid of becoming the sacrifice of Tianhai Guisheng. He Ling Xiao, see, I am an immortal existence. Although I've become incomparably ugly, I possess the undying body that all martial artists yearn for even in their dreams. Tianhai Guisheng laughed, wildly, looking very proud. You're neither a human nor a ghost. Ling Xiao shook his head and said, Immortal body? I don't believe that such a body exists at this stage of cultivation. Your martial spirit must have a flaw. It's just that I don't know about it yet. But with your strength, as long as you haven't broken through to the life-seizing realm, you can't kill me. Little Gold, if you can't beat this guy, I'll have to do it myself. Don't, boss, leave it to me. Little Gold didn't expect Tianhai Guisheng to have such a trick, which made him lose face in front of his boss. In a rage, he rushed over again. Tianhai Guisheng turned into pus and disappeared on the ground. Ha ha ha, goodbye, kid, we'll meet soon. He escaped. Tianhai Guisheng came to kill Ling Xiao, but seeing that Nether Shark was killed and he couldn't beat Little Gold, he knew that revenge was hopeless, so he swallowed Princess Tianjue to improve his strength. It seemed that this guy had gone directly to the Tianjue ancient ruins. There were more experts there, and it was more suitable for him to devour. Chapter 3098. Ghost Shark was dead. Princess Tianjue was dead. The people of Spectre Villa and Tianjue Palace also scattered like birds and beasts. Kisei Tianhai also escaped. However, according to Ling Xiao's judgment, he was most likely going to the Heaven End ancient ruins. Ling Xiao obtained a storage ring from Ghost Shark, and it was a storage ring with restrictions. However, this restriction was no different from non-existence to him. However, this old man was too poor. Other than 100,000 mid-grade spirit stones, there was only one Heaven Calamity Jade in the storage ring. Heaven Calamity Jade. First life seizing only required 1. Second life seizing required 2, which was twice as much as first life seizing. So on and so forth. The further one progressed, the more they would need. Therefore, it was definitely not a problem to get more. Ling Xiao now had 2 Heaven Calamity Jades. At the very least, first life seizing shouldn't be a problem. It's time to go, Sister Phantom. There's nothing to be nostalgic about in this broken place. Looking at the dilapidated Heaven End City, Ling Xiao looked at Phantom and didn't reply. This place could be said to be Phantom's sad place. She thought that she would never be able to take revenge in this lifetime. After all, her enemy was Tianjua Palace. However, she didn't expect that she would be able to take revenge. This really made her feel like she was in a dream. The pain in her heart lessened a lot. Although the pain still needed to be slowly worn down, at least it was much better than before. The 2 jumped on Little Gold's back and flew towards the Heaven End Ancient Ruins. The Heaven End Ancient Ruins was the ancient Heaven End City. It wasn't far from here. With Little Gold's flying speed, they could reach it in 3 hours. When they approached the Heaven End Ancient Ruins, they found that there were more and more martial artists on the way. These people's cultivations were extremely powerful. Most of them were at the Yin-Yang realm's 17th level of hell in the First Revolution. There were also martial artists at the First Revolution of the Yin-Yang realm and the 18 levels of hell. However, they hadn't seen any life-seizing martial artists so far. Of course, Ling Xiao knew that Falling Moon and King Tianjua were life-seizers, and they had all come to the Heaven End Ancient Ruins for the Ice Venerable Catalog. Everyone wants to be a carp that leaps over the Dragon's Gate and becomes a dragon among men. The Ice Exalt catalog naturally became the key to the fight. The treasures were truly very attractive. I estimate that this time at least several 100,000 people will be gathered to enter the Heaven End Ancient Ruins. It's perfect to fish in troubled waters. Enchanting Shadow looked at those martial artists and could not help but sigh. I don't quite understand. Even if we get the Ice Supreme catalog, it's useless if we can't gather the 9 Supremes, right? Ling Xiao had once tried to comprehend the sword art from the Demon's Sovereign catalog, but unfortunately he failed. He believed that if he had failed, others would not be able to succeed. He still had this bit of confidence. Of course. Phantom smiled and said, "The Heavenly Sword Hall has already announced that whoever obtains one of the catalogs will be bought at a high price. The lowest price will be 10 million spirit stones. With so many middle-grade spirit stones, it's worth it for a martial artist to risk his life for." No wonder. After all, money makes the world go round. Ling Xiao sighed. As they approached the Heaven End Ancient Ruins, everyone disembarked from their flying tools and hurried on with their feet. It was said that the Heaven End Ancient Ruins had once been roasted by a demon's sword that fell from the sky and turned into a desert. Since then, this place had become a no-fly zone. Once a flying object entered this area, it would be burned to ashes. In the past, many people did not believe in this, so many people died here. The price of blood made people learn to be obedient. Although the Heaven End Ancient Ruins had become a world of ice and snow because of the Ice Supreme catalog, no one dared to try flying. If they really died, it would be terrible. Walking on the road, because of the slow speed, one could hear many people's discussions. "Hey, did you hear? Just now, a tragedy happened in Heaven End City." "What tragedy?" "Elder Ghost Shark of the Mansion of Spirits, Princess Tianjua, Commander Tianjua, and a large number of Tianjua martial artists all died tragically in the hands of one person." "Who is so strong? Could it be a life-sizer expert?" "I don't know if it's a life-sizer, but you've all heard of him. He's Ling Xiao, number 3 on the bounty list." "No way. How could it be him? Everyone says his bounty is way higher than his strength." "Haha, you don't know, do you?" According to insider information, Ling Xiao worked with 9 defiants to steal the power of the Xuanwu turtle from the devil dragon Sword Court. He also killed 5 Sword Kings from Sword God Hall. 3 of them were killed by Ling Xiao. He must have gotten the power of the Xuanwu turtle. That's why he's so strong. No way. Isn't Devil Beauty Lan going to be pissed to death? Not just Devil Beauty Lan. Sword God Hall is going crazy. They increased Ling Xiao's bounty, and the number 1 on the bounty list by many times over. The person who was ranked first had actually annihilated a Sword Emperor from Heavenly Sword Hall in the past. You know, Yin Yang First Revolution cultivators in the 18th level of Hell were called kings. First Stratum, Life Caesars were called emperors. Second Stratum, Life Caesars were called emperors. Third Stratum, Life Caesars were called sages. That person killed a Sword Emperor and caused the Heavenly Sword Hall to lose a lot of strength. As for Ling Xiao, it was because of his terrifying talent and the fact that he kept causing trouble for the Heavenly Sword Hall that his bounty was increased. How much? The bounty on the number 1 on the bounty list has increased to 30 million mid-grade spirit stones, and Ling Xiao's bounty has increased to 20 million mid-grade spirit stones. Ling Xiao couldn't help but shake his head and smile wryly. The news had spread far too quickly. Furthermore, he wasn't the one who killed Princess Tianjue. Tian Haioni was the one who killed her. How could he be blamed for that? What really caught his attention was the fact that the number 1 on the bounty list had killed a Sword Emperor. The 9 Supremes liked to give such titles to martial artists to show how powerful they were. However, a Sword Emperor was probably one of the top experts in the entire Sword dynasty. Ha ha ha, little brother Ling Xiao, you're famous now. Your bounty has increased to 20 million mid-grade spirit stones. Even Sister Yan Yue can't compare to you. Phantom laughed. The higher the bounty, the better. That way, more experts will come looking for trouble. I'm more than happy to fight them. In order to improve his cultivation base, Ling Xiao liked to find strong opponents to fight. He didn't like to bully others. Therefore, it was best if others came looking for trouble. That way, he could deal with them confidently and not have a knot in his heart. Your personality is similar to that of the Dracomammoths. He's the young patriarch of the Dracomammoths. He was given such a name because he wanted to take on the responsibility of strengthening the Dracomammoths. But he offended Sword God Hall. In order to prevent the Dracomammoths from being attacked by Sword God Hall, he had to come out and wander. Phantom sighed. Where is the Dracomammoths? Ling Xiao asked. They're also in the Sword dynasty. They're a clan famous for fighting. All of them have Dracomammoths, martial spirits. Chapter 3099. The Dracomammoth martial soul is very suitable for fighting. The Dracomammoths must be very strong. Ling Xiao said, That's true, but the Dracomammoths are few in number and can't compare to the Sword God Hall. Although Brother Dracomammoth escaped to avoid implicating his people, the Sword God Hall is still pressuring the Dracomammoths. Phantom sighed. It's probably because of the Dracomammoths' fighting prowess, right? Ling Xiao said, That's right. The Dracomammoth's fighting prowess is something the Sword God Hall has always wanted. With the Dracomammoth's fighting prowess, the Sword dynasty will have a way to contend with the other 9 paragons. Phantom nodded. Just as Ling Xiao was about to say something, he suddenly realized that there was a very familiar aura in the small town outside the Tianjue ancient ruins that was looking in their direction. It's Brother Baifeng. Ling Xiao smiled, then turned and walked in that direction. It really is Brother Baifeng. You haven't entered the Heaven End ruins yet? At the corner, the Baifeng stood there with a hood on its head, hiding itself. After all, this was the Sword God Hall's territory. If they were discovered, a huge battle would be unavoidable. It would be bad for them to enter the Heaven End ruins to obtain the Ice Paragon catalog. This isn't the place to talk. Let's go. Baifeng called out to Ling Xiao and Phantom, then quickly left. He went to a courtyard in the town and closed the door. Everyone, Ling Xiao and Phantom, are back. After closing the door, he shouted happily into the house. Falling Moon, Domineering Blade, and Chong Ching all ran out, but Draco Mammoth, Long Chun, and Cold Plum were nowhere to be seen. Draco Mammoth is breaking through. His fight with Devil Orchid benefited him greatly. I'm afraid he'll break through to the life-seizing level. Cold Plum and Long Chin are already in the Heaven End ruins. Those two guys are really going all out. They said they're going to catch up to you. We can't stop them. Even as he spoke, black clouds suddenly appeared in the sky, covering the entire town. Then, thick lightning bolts shot toward Draco Mammoth's house. Is this the life-seizing tribulation? Ling Xiao had never seen it before. That's right, Yang Qi said. If you try to seize life from the heavens, of course they won't allow it. They'll definitely punish you. Only by passing the heavenly tribulation can you truly step into the life-seizing level. The life-seizing level after the first revolution was the true life-seizing level, and was completely different from the previous levels. After reaching the life-seizing level, the nature of one's internal power would change. From Yin-Yang Yuan Qi to heavenly tribulation true essence. After being tempered by heavenly tribulation, true energy is incomparably powerful. That's why, in the truest sense of the word, even geniuses can't challenge life-seizers without true energy from heavenly tribulation. The Bai Fong explained. I understand, Yang Qi said. The life-seizing level was just a minor level between the yin-yang level and the reincarnation level. But now it should be considered a major realm, right? Ling Xiao said. Yes, you can say that. Bai Fong nodded and said, Ah. Suddenly, the dragon elephant in the house let out a mournful shriek, causing people's hearts to tremble. Don't tell me that big brother Longxiang doesn't even have a heavenly calamity jade. Ling Xiao asked, Are you kidding me? Heavenly tribulation jades have been monopolized by the Sword God Hall for a long time. There aren't many of them to begin with. We did get 3, but Falling Moon used them all. Falling Moon is a second division life-sizer, and she used 3 Heaven Tribulation Jades to do it. The Bai Fong said helplessly, Dragon Mammoth's breakthrough was too sudden, so he'll have to rely on himself. But with the Dragon Mammoth, martial soul, and a strong fleshly body, he should be able to handle it. Even as the Bai Fong spoke, more terrifying lightning bolts fell. Dragon Mammoth screamed again. No, Yang Qi said. Even if Big Brother Dragon Mammoth can handle it, he won't be able to help us in the fight for the Ice Paragon catalog. Let him use the Heavenly Tribulation Jades. With that, Ling Xiao rushed toward Dragon Mammoth's house, and at the same time transformed into his violet lightning bull beast soul. With this beast soul transformation, he would be much more resistant to lightning. Combined with his black tortoise god body, he should be able to handle this tribulation. He has heavenly tribulation jades. The Bai Fong and Falling Moon didn't have time to stop Ling Xiao, so they could only ask Phantom. Yes, he got 2 from the Tianjua Mansion and the Mansion of Spirits. Phantom nodded. This kid is really loyal. The heavenly tribulation jades are so precious, and he's actually willing to take them out. We didn't misjudge him. The Bai Fong sighed. Of course we didn't misjudge him. In order to avenge me, he actually challenged the Tianjua Mansion and the Mansion of Spirits. It really scared me. Phantom's heart was still pounding. So the rumors are true? Falling Moon asked. Although it had only been a few hours since Ling Xiao caused a ruckus in Tianjua City, the news had already spread throughout the Sword Dynasty. All kinds of communication treasures and talismans had become the most effective tools. Yes, except for Princess Tianjua's death, which wasn't caused by Ling Xiao. Everything else is true. And the rumors don't seem to mention a guy called Tianhai Onizan. That guy is even more terrifying than Ghost Shark and Princess Tianjua. He can directly devour martial artists and obtain their internal energy to improve his cultivation. Phantom replied, Where is he? Falling Moon asked. Ling Xiao said that he might have come to the Tinjue ancient ruins. He told everyone to be careful. That guy is neither human nor ghost, so it's easy to recognize him. Phantom said. I didn't expect that kid to experience something like this. It seems like he's really grown up. The Bai Fong smiled. No, I have to work harder and try to break through to the life-seizing level as soon as possible. Otherwise, that kid will catch up to me. While they were talking, Ling Xiao had already arrived at Dracophant's cultivation room. The roof had already been blasted open by the lightning. As soon as Ling Xiao stepped into the area, terrifying lightning struck him. The lightning struck his body, causing him to tremble. He felt as if his body was being dismembered. It hurt. This heavenly tribulation, lightning, was really terrifying, but he could still withstand it. With the purple lightning bull beast soul transformation and the black tortoise divine body. Even if his cultivation wasn't up to par, he could still withstand this heavenly tribulation. The first time he was caught off guard. The second time was much better. Big brother Dracophant, take this heavenly tribulation jade. He tossed a piece of heavenly tribulation jade to Dracophant. Instead of leaving, he sat down cross-legged. Originally, the heavenly tribulation was meant to deal with Dracophant, so he took advantage of this opportunity to cultivate. When he was struck by the heavenly tribulation, he unleashed a lot of his potential, even more than when he was fighting an expert. In that moment, the power in his sea of cultivation increased by 30%. That was enough to show the power of this heavenly tribulation. The increase in his cultivation base was only one aspect. He also discovered that as the heavenly tribulation lightning struck him, a trace of heavenly tribulation true energy appeared in his body. Although it was very little, it was definitely there. This made him overjoyed. The usefulness of heavenly tribulation true energy was self-evident. Without heavenly tribulation true energy, it was impossible to challenge a life-sizer under the Yin-Yang First Revolution. Chapter 30-100. Outside the door, the Bai Fong and the others, who had been waiting for a long time, realized that Ling Xiao hadn't come out. Falling Moon represented the group and went inside to check. When she came out, she had a strange expression on her face. That kid is actually bathing in the tribulation to cultivate. What the hell? The Bai Fong directly threw the cup that it was drinking water from onto the ground. It was extremely shocked. I've never heard of such a thing. He's only in the early phase of the 18th level of hell. How could he withstand tribulation lightning? Big brother Bai Fong, he's not in the early phase, but the middle phase. Enchanting Shadow corrected. Another breakthrough? But even so, he can't withstand it. Tribulation lightning is something that even peak martial artists in the 18th level of hell can't withstand. Many martial artists have died in the tribulation, and some are afraid to break through, even if they can, for fear of attracting tribulation. How did he do it? The Bai Fong found it hard to understand. Forget it. Anyway, that guy has done a lot of miracles. It's not strange to have one or two more. Falling Moon smiled bitterly. This is unprecedented. I wonder how far he'll go. After a while, the dark clouds in the sky finally dissipated. The tribulation was gone. Dragon Elephant walked out of the room, looking very excited. I broke through. Ha ha ha. Congratulations. This time, it's all thanks to Ling Xiao's Heaven Calamity Jade. I don't know where that kid got it from. If it weren't for the Heaven Calamity Jade, I'm afraid that even if I broke through, I would have to lie in bed for a month. Dragon Elephant smiled. In the first division of the first cycle life-seizing level, Yang Qi was equivalent to the Sword Emperor of the Sword Dynasty. If Long Xiang were to meet Mimi Lan again, even if Mimi Lan's cultivation was higher than his, he could rely on his own strength to fight Mimi Lan for a day and a night without being defeated. It wouldn't be like before, when the three of them joined forces to fight Devil Lan and almost died. Where's Ling Xiao? Enchanting Shadow asked anxiously. He's still cultivating. I think he broke through again. Huh. Why did I say again? Dragon Elephant scratched his head. It's not your fault. That kid broke through too quickly. Bai Fong smiled bitterly. Just as they were talking, Ling Xiao also came out from inside. He had already changed into a clean set of clothes. First revolution, Yin Yang realm. Peak of the 18th level of hell. This heavenly tribulation really came at the right time. Ling Xiao looked at the crowd and said, "Not only did my cultivation soar, but it also gave me a meridian of heavenly tribulation, true yuan." There were 9 martial veins in a martial artist's body. This was the case no matter how high one's cultivation was. Martial veins were the core for the circulation and storage of inner strength. Ling Xiao had 9 martial veins. 8 of them were Yin and Yang Yuan Qi, but one of them had already become heavenly tribulation true essence. Damn, doesn't that mean he's stronger than me? The Bai Fong was speechless. It's only been a few days. When I heard that you were pretending to be my disciple, I was very angry. I said that this kid must have eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's guts to pretend to be my disciple. But now, it seems like I don't have the qualifications to be your master. Hee, I didn't think that the heavenly tribulation would be so helpful to me. If only I had encountered it earlier. Ling Xiao chuckled. You really are a freak, kid. I bet after the Ice Paragon catalog is over, you'll break through to the life-seizing level. I wonder how strong you'll be then. The Bai Fong sighed. All right, old Bai, let's not talk about that. Dragon Mammoth broke through, and Ling Xiao's strength soared. That will be very helpful in our fight for the Ice Paragon catalog. Now, let's head to the Heaven End Ruins. I'm still worried about Long Chen and Cold Plum. Falling Moon suddenly said. Hearing this, everyone became serious. Of course, they were also full of confidence. With 2 Life Seizers and one who wasn't any weaker than the Life Sizer level, they were a very powerful team. Is that boundless world of frigid ice up ahead the Heaven End Ruins? Why is it so big? Ling Xiao had never been here before, and had assumed that the Heaven End Ruins were only as big as a city. No matter how big they were, there should be a limit. But now that he was here, he realized that he couldn't see the end of it. The Heaven End Ruins are indeed very big. Hundreds of thousands of people are like ants if they rush in. Therefore, finding the Ice Paragon catalog is also a problem. I reckon that most people will wait for the moment the Ice Paragon catalog appears to fight for it. When the Ice Paragon catalog appears, there will definitely be a heavenly phenomenon. Falling Moon analyzed. We're all wanted criminals. Won't there be any trouble after we enter? Ling Xiao asked. I'm not afraid of that. Other than the people from the Sword God Hall and our enemies, no one else will bother to attack us. Even the people from the Sword God Hall will wholeheartedly go for the Ice Paragon catalog. As long as we don't attack the Ice Paragon catalog, they naturally won't attack us. The Bai Fong said. I'm afraid there are quite a few people from the Sword God Hall, right? Of course. In order to obtain the Ice Paragon catalog, the Sword God Hall actually sent out 24 top-notch Sword Kings. 12 of them are top-notch Sword Kings, and all of them are at the peak of the 18th level of hell. There are also 3 Sword Emperors, all of whom are at the first level of life seizing. There's one more person to pay attention to, and that's the Heavenly King. That guy is at the level of a Sword Emperor. He has an extremely high status in the Sword God Hall, and this time he's probably the overall commander of the Sword God Hall's mission to obtain the Ice Paragon catalog. Falling Moon replied. Ling Xiao knew that the Sword God Hall had 5 Sword Emperors, also known as the 5 Emperors. The Heavenly King was one of the 5 Emperors. His cultivation was on the same level as Falling Moon. He was very powerful. This time the Heavenly King had 3 Sword Emperors, 24 Sword Kings, and a large number of Sword God Hall martial artists. In terms of overall strength, They were definitely much stronger than them. At this moment, the Bai Fong added, "Of course, our competitor is definitely not as simple as the sword god Hull. I believe Devil Lon of the Devil Dragon Sword Court will also come. In order to revive the Devil Dragon Sword Court, he has already put down his former attitude and completely reached an agreement with the sword god Hull. Therefore, Devil Lon is now even known as the sixth emperor of the sword god Hull. Also, the Golden Phoenix Sword Palace, which is as powerful as the Devil Dragon Sword Court, will definitely send people. Perhaps the Golden Phoenix Sword Palace Master will personally come. In addition, the Mansion of Spirits, Fire Cloud Palace, and other large and small forces will definitely come. However, most of them are vassals of the sword god Hull, so they definitely won't dare to be enemies with the sword god Hull. They might even become our enemies. So this time, the mission is very difficult. No matter what, we have to obtain the Ice Paragon Catalog." Ling Xiao gritted his teeth. In order to become stronger, Ling Xiao would definitely not show weakness in front of the enemy. After obtaining the Ice Paragon Catalog, it's best that we don't return to the Mist Valley. That place is considered a paradise. Once we return, we will definitely bring trouble there. It's best to find another place. Chapter 30-101. Hearing that Yan Yu wanted to consider a way out, Long Xiang said, "But let's just go to the Dragon Elephant tribe." "No. Wouldn't that bring trouble to your Dragon Elephant tribe?" Bai Fong shook his head. "No, because the Dragon Elephant tribe is already troublesome enough." Long Xiang sighed and said, "You don't know, although I left the Dragon Elephant tribe, I have always maintained close contact with the tribe. Recently, many people in the Dragon Elephant tribe have been captured by the Heavenly Sword Hull. They say it's a rebellion, but in fact, there's no need to worry about the pretext. The tribe has already discussed and prepared to resist collectively. At most, we will perish together, but we definitely can't be cut by a soft knife. If that's the case, I think we can go to the Dragon Elephant tribe and help them," Ling Xiao said. He was very concerned about Long Xiang, who was willing to risk his life to protect him. "That's right, we're all brothers. We can't watch our brother's tribe be destroyed like this." Bai Fong also nodded. The rest of them looked at Long Xiang with a smile. "Brother Long Xiang, if there's such a thing, you should have said so earlier. You don't treat us as brothers," Ba Dao said with some displeasure. "I just don't want to cause trouble for everyone." Long Xiang scratched his head and smiled bitterly. Back then, the 32 of us, 9 Defiants, swore to live and die together. How can you be so distant? Don't you treat us as friends? Bai Fong glared at Long Xiang and said, "Although I didn't swear to be your brother, I'm willing to contribute my strength." Ling Xiao said, "Thank you very much, everyone." Long Xiang, a big man, actually had tears in his eyes at this time. Ling Xiao had not been in contact with these people for long, but several incidents had made him have a good impression of these people, and he was willing to hang out with them. He didn't have to worry about the sect's internal strife. He didn't know how the others in the 9 Defiants were like. Maybe he would see them in the future. After messing around for a while, everyone disguised themselves and set off. Of course, it was not as vivid as Ling Xiao's transformation, but walking in the crowd, they would not be recognized at once, so they could avoid a lot of trouble. On the way to the Heaven End Ancient Ruins, Falling Moon explained the situation of this Heaven End Ancient Ruins to Ling Xiao in detail. It was the most famous and terrifying ancient site in the Sword Dynasty. The Heavens and Ancient Ruins were also known as the Heavens and Death Grounds. In the past, there were deserts everywhere in the Heaven and Ancient Ruins. In the hot desert, the maximum temperature could reach 100 degrees Celsius. Ordinary people would be roasted into jerky if they went in. Without sufficient strength, one would not even be able to step into that place. Of course, this was only one of the dangers. In the Heaven and Ancient Ruins, there were still terrifying fiery winds, black sandstorms, sand pits, quicksand, ghost caves, and other natural disasters. there were also extremely powerful demonic beasts. Supposedly in the core region of the Heaven End ruins, where the ancient Heaven End city was located, there were demonlings in the life-seizing level. Not only were they powerful, but they could also assume human form. It was extremely terrifying. Of course, because of the Ice Supreme catalog, many places in the Heaven Supreme ancient ruins were covered in ice. However, this did not reduce the danger level of the Heaven-grade ancient ruins. Instead, it became even more terrifying. The daytime was still unbearably hot. The layers of ice had melted, and even the water was scorching hot. At night, the temperature dropped sharply, and the ice layer appeared again. It could be said that it was completely erotic. Normally, human martial artists would not easily step into this place because the Heaven Supreme ancient ruins had already become the territory of the demonic beasts. They would kill any human martial artist who dared to step into this place without mercy. Yen Yu continued, basically, if the Ice Supreme catalog appears in the Heaven Supreme ancient city, then we can give up, because that is equivalent to facing the demonic beasts of the Heaven Supreme ancient ruins head-on. I don't think we need to worry too much. The Heaven Supreme ancient ruins are so big, it might not appear in the Heaven Supreme ancient city. Besides, this time hundreds of forces in the entire Sword Dynasty and hundreds of thousands of people have come in. If we really want to fight with the demonic beasts of the Heaven Supreme ancient city, we might be able to win. Ba Dao said, if we underestimate those demonic beasts too much, we will suffer. Bai Feng said in a deep voice, no matter what, be careful. While they were talking, Ling Xiao had a rough understanding of the entire Heaven Supreme ancient ruins. He originally thought that it was the ruins of an ancient city, but now it seemed that it was more than that. This was basically a demonic beast empire. But this was also good. Although his cultivation base had reached the peak of the 18th level of hell, the energy in his cultivation sea was still 0. He needed to constantly challenge stronger opponents to replenish the energy in his cultivation sea. Only then would he have a chance to reach the life-seizing stage. Big Brother Bai Feng, I've always had a question. Among the 9 Supremes, which one is the strongest? Also, what is the cultivation level of the strongest person among the 9 Supremes? Ling Xiao had heard all kinds of rumors before, but in the end, they were all shattered by reality. In the past, he had thought that the strongest of the 9 Supremes was only at the peak of the 18th level of hell. But when he reached a certain cultivation level, he was shocked to find that those who said that were actually frogs at the bottom of a well. Not to mention others, even in the Sword Dynasty, there were many martial artists at the peak of the 18th level of hell. There were even more life-seizers. I don't know who is the strongest of the 9 Supremes, but the weakest is definitely the Sword Dynasty. Bai Feng said with a wry smile, the so-called 9 Supremes are actually divided into different levels of strength. In our Sword Dynasty, the strongest is probably at the 4th level of the life-seizing stage, known as the Sword God. As for the other 9 Supremes, there are martial artists at the Reincarnation God realm. The Reincarnation God realm is the realm of returning to one's true self. Once you reach that realm, your internal energy will evolve into divine vitality. Once you reach that realm, you can actually be called a god in the Black Tortoise continent. You're just a minor god who has just entered the realm. Only after reaching the Reincarnation God realm can you truly enter the realm of gods. It's too early to talk about it now, but you'll know in the future. As for who is the strongest of the 9 Supremes, and what the peak is, no one can be sure, because there are people breaking through almost every day. Even the 9 Supremes want to surpass the experts of the other 4 domains. So that's how it is. It seems that I've been looking at the world with a fixed perspective. There really is a problem. Ling Xiao actually felt very lucky in his heart. Back then, he had only chosen the Sword Dynasty as the key to entering the 9 Supremes because he used the sword. But now, it seemed that it was a wise choice. If he had chosen any other power, it might not have been as easy as it was now. By the way, Brother Ling Xiao, I think your movement technique is only at the advanced soldier level. It's too outdated. At the very least, you should get a general-level movement technique. The Sword God Hall has the best movement technique in the Sword Dynasty, an advanced general-level movement technique called the Evading Sword Steps. It's just that it's a bit difficult to get. Chapter 3102. In truth, Domineering Blade had only been joking about the Evading Sword Steps. However, it had become Ling Xiao's goal. If he wanted to learn, he naturally wanted to learn the best. He knew that the most powerful martial arts in the Sword Dynasty were high-level general-class martial arts. Because of that, it was obvious how important the 9 sovereigns' battle arts were. A king-level martial art was incomparably precious. Watch out for demonlings. As they went deeper and deeper into the ancient Heaven End ruins, more and more demonlings appeared. Of course, with hundreds of thousands of martial artists, many of the demonlings had already been chased away or killed. However, there were still powerful existences hiding in the shadows, ready to hunt down martial artists at any time. Ling Xiao suddenly stopped in his tracks and called out to everyone. Everyone was surprised that he had discovered the demonlings. After all, they hadn't felt anything. Over there! Ling Xiao casually pointed his finger, and a streak of sword qi pierced through the air. The layer of ice suddenly split open, and a huge strange insect crawled out. The insect looked like a longhorn beetle, but its body was sparkling and translucent like ice crystals. There was no doubt that it had mutated because of the Ice Paragon catalog. Ling Xiao, you're good. We didn't even notice this thing hiding in the ice. It's almost perfectly blended in with ice. If we were ambushed, we'd definitely be injured. The Baifeng looked at Ling Xiao and was even more shocked. It's just that my soul power is slightly stronger than the average person's. Ling Xiao said modestly. Modesty? Excessive modesty is arrogance. Who can kill this ice crystal longhorn beetle? The Baifeng shook its head. The ice crystal longhorn beetle was in the middle of the 18 hells. It wasn't too strong, but it was definitely not weak. Most terrifying of all was its ability to hide and ambush. Even a life-sizer would be caught off guard by it and would be caught off guard. I'll do it. I haven't fought in a long time and I'm itching. Domineering Blade grinned. The originally empty long sleeve suddenly condensed a terrifying yin and yang yuan qi, which then transformed into a peerless blade. Slash! Over 10 meters away, Ba Dao brandished his severed right arm. The blade formed from yin-yang essence energy released a terrifying saber intent and saber qi. The ice crystal longhorn beetle was sliced into 2, leaving a 1-foot-long hole in the ground. What a strong saber intent! What a tyrannical saber energy! Ba Dao is also a powerful person. Ling Xiao was a swordsman. Since ancient times, it had been said that swords and sabers were inseparable. He had a deep understanding of sabers. Ba Dao was very strong. You should be breaking through soon, right? The immortal bird by Feng asked Domineering Blade. It's about time. What I need now is to accumulate strength. If I don't break through, I'll be surpassed by Brother Ling Xiao. I say, by Feng, you should only be 1 step away from breaking through, right? Tyrannical asked. Amen, I can feel it. Soon. However, before I make my breakthrough, I must obtain a heavenly calamity jade. Otherwise, if I'm injured, I'll become everyone's burden. Baifeng nodded. There's a situation. After killing the ice crystal longhorn beetle, Domineering Blade was about to take its monster core when Ling Xiao suddenly reminded him. Another monster? Everyone looked at Ling Xiao and asked. No, it's a human this time. Very soon. Swoosh! A figure appeared in front of everyone. Then, ignoring Ling Xiao and the others, he went to dissect the ice crystal longhorn beetle's corpse and took out its monster core. Hey, even if we don't want the monster core, you should at least let us know. Domineering Blade frowned. At this time, the man raised his head and looked at everyone. He said disdainfully This ice crystal longhorn beetle killed many of our people. We've long been prepared to deal with it. Moreover, there are traces of our attacks on its body. How can you be the one who killed it?" This person was completely unreasonable and arrogant. "You're courting death." Domineering Blade was not a good-tempered person. Hearing the other party's words, he immediately flew into a rage. He slashed out with his blade, and the terrifying blade cut the ice crystal longhorn beetle in half. It should be impossible for this person to survive. But what was surprising was that this person actually waved his hand and blocked Domineering Blade's attack. He was unharmed. Hee. Today I'm going to take this monster core. Who dares to not give what our demon dragon sword court wants? Even the heavenly sword hall has to give us some face. That person suddenly sneered. Demon dragon sword court. Ling Xiao was stunned for a moment. This person did not wear any clothes related to the demon dragon sword court, so he did not recognize him. He did not expect him to be an expert of the demon dragon sword court. However, he was not one of the remaining 3 demon kings. Did the demon dragon sword court have such a person? Demon Medicine Emperor. At this moment, more people rushed over. Among them, 3 of them were the 3 demon kings of the demon dragon sword court. The demon emperor above the demon king. Ling Xiao had been wondering before, if the heavenly sword hall had a sword emperor, why didn't the demon dragon sword court have a demon emperor? Now it seemed that the demon medicine emperor was not present when he caused havoc in the demon dragon sword court. Ling Xiao. The demon medicine emperor did not recognize Ling Xiao. However, it was impossible for the 3 demon kings not to recognize Ling Xiao. When they saw Ling Xiao, they were all shocked. Although Ling Xiao and the others had disguised themselves, they did not transform. It was normal for them to be recognized. That kid is Ling Xiao? His cultivation is not very good, but his aura is quite strong. The demon medicine emperor glanced at Ling Xiao. Obviously, someone had already told him what Ling Xiao had done. Therefore, his eyes revealed a bit of ruthless killing intent. Suddenly, a green thing popped out of his hand and shot towards Ling Xiao. "Be careful!" Dragon Mammoth blocked in front of Ling Xiao. He did not transform, but punched out, and the green thing exploded in the air. "Old man, you may be the demon emperor, but don't you think you're overestimating yourself if you think you can kill our people?" Falling Moon said coldly, Demon Lord, what do you think we should do?" The demon medicine emperor suddenly looked into the distance. "Kill!" A thunderous voice rang out in the distance. 3 silhouettes flew over at high speed. One of them was Demon Lord Lan Mei of the Demon Dragon Sword Court. There were 2 others, one of whom Ling Xiao did not recognize, and the other was Empress Lan Meichen. Empress Lan Meichen was different from before. Her entire body seemed to have changed, and her strength had skyrocketed. She had reached the first tier of life seizing. It seemed that something must have happened to him. "Greetings, Demon Lord, Sword Devil Emperor, and young master." The people of the Demon Dragon Sword Court bowed to the 3 newcomers. "Falling Moon, are you really going to protect this kid?" Demon Lord Lan Meichen looked at Falling Moon and said coldly, "Aren't you afraid that your 7-star catalog will be stolen?" "What? So the 7-star catalog was in Falling Moon's hands?" Ling Xiao actually believed Lan Meichen's words. Since Falling Moon was looking for the 9 Supremes catalog, she should have 1 or 2 with her. Chapter 3103. "I'm sorry, I've already given the 7-star catalog to the leader and it's not in my hands. On the other hand, not only do you have the Demon Venerable catalog, you also obtain the 7-star Sword Palace's 7-star catalog. And now you actually want the Ice Venerable catalog. You're really greedy." Yan Yu said coldly, "Ha ha ha, you really know how to talk nonsense." Lan Mimi was very depressed. Originally, Yan Yu was right. She had the sword Venerable Catalog and the demon Venerable Catalog, but the demon Venerable Catalog was accidentally stolen by someone, and its whereabouts were unknown. Otherwise, with the two catalogs as a foundation, she could be considered confident. Even if she couldn't get the Nine Supremes catalog, she wouldn't let others get it. If he knew that the demon Venerable Catalog had fallen into Ling Zhao's hands, who knew what he would think? How about we make a deal? This time, in the fight for the Ice Venerable Catalog, our demon dragon, Sword Court, won't attack you 9 defies. But Ling Zhao must belong to me. Lan Mimi no longer mentioned the catalog, but looked at Ling Zhao. She hated Ling Zhao to the bone. If it weren't for Ling Zhao, she would still be the demon dragon Sword Court's carefree demon master. But now, she had been reduced to a lackey of the heavenly sword hall. Her status didn't seem low, but the feeling of being restrained was too unpleasant. Impossible. Yan Yu refused without any hesitation. Although the Ice Venerable Catalog was important, Ling Zhao had already been treated as a companion that she would rely on in life and death. How could she give it up? Is it worth it for a piece of trash? Empress Lan Mei-chin suddenly interjected. Trash? Haha, if he's trash, then what are you, whose body was destroyed by him? Aren't you worse than trash? Bai Fong mocked. That's because he used a forbidden technique. Lan Mimi roared. Losing to Ling Zhao was the most shameful thing he had ever felt in his life. Forbidden technique? You can use it if you have the ability. Bai Fong sneered. I'm not going to talk to an insensible trash like you. Lan Mimi, do you really plan to fight us here? If you really want to fight, we aren't afraid of you. Immortal Bird Bifong, Yang Qi said. You really think too highly of your group. Only Falling Moon and Dracomamoth are life seizers. One is in the 2nd division, the other is in the 1st division. We have 4 life seizers. Do you think you can beat them? Lan Mimi mocked. Whether you can win or not, you just have to try. Ling Zhao walked out and looked at Lan Mei with a smile. Old witch, have you forgotten how I snatched away the Xian turtle's strength so quickly? Even if we didn't have any life seizers with us, we could still beat you. This time it's no different. Then he looked at Empress Mei-chin and said, You just got a new body, don't be so cocky. If you die again, no matter how powerful your mother is, she won't be able to save you. You should stay in your mother's arms and drink milk as soon as possible. I'll kill you. Empress Mei-chin said angrily. As a man, it was impossible for her not to be angry at Ling Zhao's mockery. However, Ling Zhao was flanked by Falling Moon and Dracomamoth. She wanted to make a move, but couldn't quite make up her mind. Coward, Ling Zhao said disdainfully. Then he looked at the Medicine Devil Emperor and said, Hand over the demon core of the Ice Stone Heavenly Beetle. Devil Emperor, the Medicine Devil Emperor said, This brat is too cocky. Why don't we just kill them all here? He looked at Lan Mei-chin and said, As far as he was concerned, they were definitely strong enough to do so. Therefore, he couldn't tolerate such humiliation. That's right, Mother. We can't let Ling Zhao slip away again. Empress Mei-chin said, As long as you can stop Falling Moon and Dracomamoth, I can kill that brat. Earth-span golden light magic. Suddenly, Ling Zhao spat out a few words. His body turned into a golden light and disappeared in a flash. He, whose cultivation had skyrocketed, directly used the heavenly tribulation true origin. The speed of the earth-span golden light magic had reached a terrifying level. Even Lan Mei-chin couldn't react in time. When they locked onto Ling Zhao again, they realized that the demon dragon sword in Ling Zhao's hand was already on Empress Mei-chin's neck. What a disgrace! Empress Mei-chin's face turned as red as a monkey's butt. Ha ha ha! I see that you've finally obtained a brand new body, but your strength isn't that great. Ling Zhao slapped Empress Mei-chin's face and said with a smile, You, old grandson, hand over the demon core. Otherwise, he'll lose his life. Actually, it wasn't a big problem whether he wanted the Ice Stone Heavenly Beetle's demon core or not. He didn't need it anyway. However, this was a matter of face. He couldn't just watch the demon dragon's sword courts, people steal their things, and leave as if nothing had happened. I was just careless. If you have the ability, let's fight one-on-one. Empress Machen roared. I'm not talking to trash like you. Old witch, what do you think? Do you want a demon core or your son's life? Ling Xiao looked at Empress Machen and said, Demonic Medicine Emperor, give the demon core to them. Empress Machen gritted her teeth and said, Fortunately, there were no outsiders here. Even if she was embarrassed, only her own people and enemies would know. Otherwise, if word got out, her face would be even more worthless. Yes, Demon Lord. Of course, the demonic medicine emperor was unwilling. However, his young master Empress Machen was in the hands of others. He had no choice but to obediently give the demon core to Ba Dao. Thank you. Ling Xiao put down the demon dragon's sword on Empress Machen's neck and flew towards Falling Moon and the others. At this moment, the demonic sword emperor suddenly stabbed his sword and pointed it at Ling Xiao's back. Chi! The sword was too fast and directly pierced through Ling Xiao's back. The demonic sword emperor revealed a sarcastic sneer. You dare to use my demon dragon sword courts people as a threat? This is the outcome. However, his sneer did not last long. Idiot, what are you stabbing? Ling Xiao's voice came from behind Long Xiang. Clone! The demonic sword emperor instantly understood that the one he stabbed was Ling Xiao's clone. He had never heard of someone who could use a clone to such an extent that it could pass off as the real thing. Even if the Golden Phoenix clone was cultivated to the transformative realm, it was still very different from the real body. It was impossible for it to escape his eyes. Of course, he did not know that Ling Xiao had the Yin-Yang Demon King's transformation technique, which could make the Golden Phoenix clone look more like himself. He had already expected the other party to launch a sneak attack. It was just that he was not sure who would launch the sneak attack. However, no matter who it was, with this clone blocking the sword, he was naturally not afraid of anything. Old fool, do you know the price of your sneak attack this time? I originally only wanted to take back the ice crystal, Heavenly Bull's demon core, but now I'm not happy. You guys think of a way to deal with the poison in Empress Machen's body. After Ling Xiao finished speaking, he called out to Falling Moon and the others and flew into the distance. Don't chase after us, or he'll die even faster. At this moment, Empress Machen's body was invaded by the bloodthirsty rat plague and was in pain. However, she would not die. Ling Xiao was just scaring her. Chapter 3104. With the help of Lan Mimi, they quickly cleared out the bloodthirsty plague germs. Mother, I must kill that guy. Empress Lan was so angry that her nose was about to become crooked. There will be a chance. Since they are here for the Ice Supreme catalog, they will definitely go head-to-head with the Heavenly Sword Hull. At that time, we can just take advantage of it. If you really want to kill that kid, there will be plenty of opportunities. There's no need to rush. Lan Mimi's words were helpless, but also the truth. If they were to fight with Nine Knees Group now, they might really be able to win, but it would definitely be a Pyrrhic victory. Instead, they would let others take advantage of them. Ha ha ha, this is so satisfying. I've never seen Lan Mimi so cowardly, ha 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 ha. Moving forward again, Ba Dao couldn't help but laugh. Do you know, Ling Xiao, this arm of mine is what that old witch did. I've been waiting for her to be unlucky. When I saw her defeated look just now, I was really excited. I really didn't know that. Big brother Ba Dao, have you fought with Lan Mimi before? Ling Xiao asked. Yes, but at that time, Lan Mimi wasn't as strong as she is now. That guy was obviously a woman, but he liked women and wanted to snatch my sister away. Out of helplessness, I fought with him and lost this arm. Fortunately, Nine Knees people saved me and my sister at that time. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll be in pain for the rest of my life. Ba Dao nodded. Is that your sister? Ling Xiao asked curiously. She's by the leader's side now. Her current strength is probably much stronger than mine. Speaking of this, Ba Dao said helplessly, I haven't seen her for many years. I really hope that when Nine and I gathers again, I can meet her. After all, she's my only family member in this world. By the way, Ling Xiao, thank you for helping me get the ice crystal longhorn. To tell you the truth, my martial soul is the ice crystal longhorn. With the help of this monster core, I can improve my strength faster. This time my luck is really good. Do you want to find a place to try to break through? Ling Xiao asked. We can't waste everyone's time. Ba Dao shook his head. What's there to delay? This is called sharpening the axe will not delay the work of chopping firewood. If you break through, you will be of greater help to us. Bai Feng said. The others had the same thought. All right, I'll have to trouble you, Ling Xiao, to help me find a safe place to break through. Along the way, they had avoided many powerful warriors and demon beasts. This was all thanks to Ling Xiao. Therefore, they trusted Ling Xiao's eyes very much. Follow me. In fact, when Ling Xiao suggested that Ba Dao try to break through, he had already found a place. Everyone gathered near a cave. Big brother Ba Dao, this is for you. Ling Xiao gave his last remaining heaven tribulation jade to Ba Dao. No, I can't take this. It's better for you to keep it. You've also reached the peak. Who knows when you'll break through? Ba Dao hurriedly waved his hand. All right, take it. Big brother Ba Dao. After you break through, help me snatch another one. So many warriors came from the Heavenly Sword Hall. I don't believe that none of them brought heaven tribulation jade. After all, many people are on the verge of breaking through. Ling Xiao smiled. All right, I accept. Ba Dao no longer refused. He turned around and walked into the cave. In his heart, he had completely regarded Ling Xiao as a brother of life and death. He swore that whoever made an enemy of Ling Xiao would be an enemy of Ba Dao. He recognized this brother of his. Everyone was guarding outside. In the beginning, there was no situation. However, as more and more people entered the Heaven End ancient ruins, a group of people who specialized in killing and robbing appeared. These people didn't come here for the Ice Supreme catalog. They knew that they couldn't compete with the Heavenly Sword Hall. Therefore, they targeted those warriors who were inferior to them, killing and robbing, accumulating wealth. Along the way, they had already seen many warriors die tragically. They weren't killed by demon beasts, but by human warriors. This was the world of warriors. The only reason was strength. Only if you were strong enough could you protect yourself. Otherwise, it would only be a dead end. Because Ling Xiao and the others had disguised themselves, several groups of people came to rob and kill them. However, they were destroyed in an instant. When the corpses around them accumulated to a certain extent, those warriors basically went around them. Even a fool could see that this was a group of monsters that weren't to be trifled with. From time to time, the roars or screams of wild beasts could be heard. That direction should be close to the ancient city of Heaven End. How troublesome. It seems that the Ice Supreme catalog is really going to appear in the ancient city of Heaven End this time. Looking into the distance, Falling Moon frowned. I wonder if the owner of the Heaven End ancient ruins will come out? Ling Xiao asked with a smile. At this time, the sky was already covered with thunderclouds. Ba Dao had begun to experience the heavenly tribulation. However, he didn't go. First Division, life-seizing heavenly tribulation was of little help to Ling Xiao, unless it was his own heavenly tribulation. I hope it doesn't. The owner of the Heaven End ancient ruins is a terrifying Third Division life-sizer. He's stronger than me, King Heaven End, and Devil Orchid. He's called the Vajra God Ape. Falling Moon frowned. If we run into him, we'll be in big trouble. In response, Ling Xiao didn't feel any fear. Instead, a look of delight appeared on his face. His monkey god throne didn't have a beast soul. If he could get his hands on the Vajra god ape, he would definitely gain new power. Furthermore, his strength would increase. If things went well, he might even break through to the life-seizing level. That would be a qualitative change. Ling Xiao, I advise you not to have any ideas about the Vajra god ape. It's second only to the Sun Sea's Crimson Sun Golden Lawn. It's one of the two most powerful demonlings in the Sword Dynasty. The Baifeng could tell that Ling Xiao was interested in the Vajra god ape. Don't worry, big brother Baifeng, Yang Qi said. I won't do anything rash. If I get the chance, I'll definitely get my hands on the Vajra god ape's demon core. If I don't, then forget it. I wouldn't joke around with everyone's lives. Ling Xiao smiled. Half an hour later, Domineering Blade emerged from the cave. He didn't retract his saber will. It was as if he had transformed into a treasured saber, coupled with the frigid energy emanating from his ice, crystal, heavenly bull martial soul. It was enough to cause anyone to shiver. Looks like you did it, the Baifeng said. Looks like I'm behind again. The Baifeng smiled. Don't be so modest, Baifeng, Domineering Blade said. Considering how strong you are now, you might not necessarily lose to me. You think we don't know how strong your martial soul is? The only reason you can't break through as quickly as we can is because you need more power. Once you break through, you'll be even stronger than me. Domineering Blade said. Maybe, but now's not the time to talk about that. Let's keep going. Chapter 3105. Not long after they set off again, a fishy wind blew in their direction. A ferocious tiger with white forehead walked out of the dense forest. However, there was a crescent-shaped mark between its eyebrows. When it walked, every step it took was like a gust of wind. Its body was huge, but its movements were not slow at all. Roar! The tiger's roar echoed throughout the Heaven-End ancient ruins. It was so loud that everyone's eardrums hurt. Be careful, everyone. That's a first-cycle, life-sizer demonling. Falling Moon warned. At the same time, she stood in front of the group with Dragon Mammoth and Domineering Blade. All three of them were life-seizers, and if they encountered a life-sizer demonling, then they had to be the ones to deal with it. It's a cosmic light tiger. Ling Xiao remembered reading about it in a book. The cosmic light tiger wasn't very big, only about 3 or 4 meters tall and 6 or 7 meters long. However, it was incredibly fast, and when it ran, it was like a beam of light. It was said that when a cosmic light tiger reached its peak state, it could even outrun the enemy. Although it was only for a short period of time, it was still terrifying. The cosmic light tiger wasn't very different from an ordinary tiger. Other than the fact that it glowed faintly, it was larger and had a crescent-shaped mark on its forehead, instead of the character for king. A first stratum life-sizer cosmic light tiger, not to be trifled with. Falling Moon frowned. We're almost at the Heaven-End ancient city, Dragon Mammoth said. It's not strange for a life-sizer demonling to appear. Dragon Mammoth said. Even as they spoke, the cosmic light tiger transformed into a muscular, middle-aged man. He stood there coldly, emanating a terrifying bestial aura. A demonling that can take human form? That's rare. Everyone was shocked. The cosmic light tiger's human form wasn't complete. Although it was mostly human, the tiger skin was still there, and the crescent-shaped mark on its forehead was still there. It was obvious that its cultivation base was too low. Otherwise, it would have been perfect. Even so, it was strong enough. Roar! The middle-aged man let out a loud roar. Then he spoke in the human tongue. Get the hell out of here, humans. The Heaven-End ancient city doesn't welcome you. I say, this Heaven-End ancient ruins was a human city tens of thousands of years ago. How did it become your territory? And you want us to get out? Ridiculous, Long Xiang said unhappily. Foolish human, do you think you are very powerful? You have no chance of survival against our king. Telling you to scram is giving you a chance to live. The middle-aged man roared. Then, I'm sorry, we came to the heaven and ancient ruins to obtain the Ice Supreme catalog. I hope your king won't stop me. After all, that thing is useless to you. If it insists on stopping us, don't blame us when it dies. It was impossible for them to leave. Since they had to fight the Vajra ape, they were not afraid. Falling Moon's ice-cold words represented everyone's opinion. All right, then wait to become the king's food. The middle-aged man transformed back into the cosmic light tiger and instantly disappeared before everyone's eyes. It's really fast. I wanted to keep it here, but it seems like it won't be easy. Long Xiang frowned. This cosmic light tiger specializes in speed. That's why it dares to face us directly. Falling Moon said, Next, we have to be even more careful. I estimate that we will soon reach the heaven and ancient city. There will be more demon beasts appearing. And we don't know how strong and how many there are. Actually, there's no need to worry so much. Even if the sky falls, there are tall people to hold it for us. Bai Fong smiled and said, whether it's the Sword God Hall, the Devil Dragon Sword Court, or the Golden Phoenix Sword Palace, they're all stronger than us. If we really face the Vajra ape, they will definitely charge at the front. We just need to help appropriately. No matter what, don't joke around with your life. That's right, although the Ice Supreme catalog is important, it's nothing compared to life. Everyone continued forward. They could already see the outline of the heaven and ancient city. This city that had undergone a drastic change tens of thousands of years ago still maintained its basic outline. There was actually a large amount of vegetation growing around it. Even the ice energy of the Ice Supreme catalog was unable to freeze them. At this time, a large number of people had already gathered outside the heaven and ancient city. They were densely packed like ants. Ling Xiao and the others stood in the crowd, so it was impossible for them to be exposed. The people from the Sword God Hall are here. At this moment, there was a sudden shout from the crowd. Then, the road to the heaven and ancient city was opened. As the road opened, Ling Xiao looked up and saw that a group of tens of thousands of people had already arrived. The leader should be the Heaven End King, a First Revolution life-sizer. There were also 3 Sword Emperors, a First Revolution life-sizer. As for the top Sword Kings, there were 12 of them. Ordinary Sword Kings also had 12 of them. The rest of the martial artists were close to 10,000, and the weakest was at the early stage of the First Revolution Yin-Yang realm, the 17th level of Hell. The Sword God Hall was indeed the Sword God Hall. In addition to the many experts, the strength of these ordinary martial artists was also extremely powerful. Sword Emperor Qin, is there any reaction from the geocentric fire lotus? Heaven End King turned around and asked a Sword Emperor beside him. There's already a reaction. Sword Emperor Qin nodded and said, It seems that the rumors are true. The Ice Supreme catalog is really here. But this is the territory of the Vajra ape. Are we really going to fight it? If the Vajra ape doesn't know what's good for him, then don't blame us. We can just take his crystal core to improve my strength. Heaven End King snorted coldly. The death of his son and wife didn't affect him at all. As he spoke, Heaven End King continued to walk forward, ignoring the martial artists on both sides of the road as if they didn't exist at all. What's the geocentric fire lotus? Ling Xiao asked Bai Fong. The geocentric fire lotus is a very special plant. The colder the area, the more intense it burns. However, this thing is extremely difficult to find. The Sword God Hall has really invested a lot to use this thing to find the Ice Supreme catalog. You know, the geocentric fire lotus is a good medicinal material for cultivation. If it's refined into a geocentric fire lotus pill, it's definitely a great supplement for martial artists. Bai Fong sighed and said, It's really enviable. Our 9 Defiance doesn't have such financial resources. As they were talking, a tiger roar came from the entrance of the ancient Heaven End City. Then a white light flashed. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of ordinary martial artists of the Sword God Hall were killed. That white light finally stopped at the entrance of the ancient Heaven End City and revealed its original body. It was the cosmic light tiger that Ling Xiao and the others had met before. Behind the cosmic light tiger was a dense pack of demonic beasts. Chapter 3106. Roar. The cosmic light tiger roared angrily again. This was a warning. But how could Tinjue King be frightened by it? He smiled coldly and said, "A mere beast dares to kill my heavenly sword hall martial artists. You're courting death." His attitude actually represented the attitude of almost all the martial artists. No one came here to join in the fun. Although hundreds of thousands of martial artists poured into the Heaven End Ancient Ruins, and only about 100,000 people could reach the Heaven End Ancient City, this number was still quite high. Roar. Seeing that Tinjue King refused to retreat, the cosmic light tiger finally flew into a rage and roared. But it was no longer a warning, but an order. For a moment, a large number of demonic beasts pounced out from behind it, and many demonic beasts also appeared in the surrounding forest and ice. They surrounded the human martial artists. For a moment, screams rang out. Those who were not strong enough but still wanted to fight for the Ice Supreme catalog were courting death. Evil creature, how dare you commit murder? Kill! Tinjue King, who was wearing a royal robe, soared into the sky domineeringly and charged towards the cosmic light tiger. As the saying goes, capture the leader first. Everyone could see that this cosmic light tiger was the overall commander of all the demonic beasts. As long as it was destroyed, those demonic beasts would naturally collapse. After all, demonic beasts were not humans. Without a commander, they would only be in a mess. Roar! The cosmic light tiger suddenly opened its tiger mouth, and a ball of light condensed in its mouth, and then blasted out like a formation cannon. This light shot in a straight line, and it just happened to include all the Heavenly Sword Hall martial artists on the path. How terrifying was this attack! Even the 3 Sword Emperors might not be able to block it. The Heavenly Sword Hall martial artists behind them were even more helpless. At this moment, Tinjue King made his move. A sword light flew out from Tinjue King's hand. It directly collided with the light pillar. In just an instant, the light pillar was completely destroyed and nothing was missed. The Heavenly Sword Hall martial artists behind Tinjue King were unscathed. If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. At this moment, Tinjue King had already arrived in front of the cosmic light tiger. A long sword suddenly appeared in his hand, emitting a sinister light, and then he slashed down. The cosmic light tiger's speed could be said to be fast, but Tinjue King's sword was even faster. The cosmic light tiger had already desperately dodged, but the sword light still hit its head. Roar! The universal light tiger shrieked miserably as its body was sliced in half by Tinjue Monarch's sword. Blood splattered all over the city gate. Oh! Long live Tinjue Wang! Chen Sui! The warriors of the Heavenly Sword Hall let out victory cries. Their worship of the Heavenly Monarch naturally reached the peak too. That cosmic light tiger had made many people suffer, but it was killed by Tianju Wang in one move. This really made people sigh with emotion. With the death of the cosmic light tiger, the originally ferocious demonic beasts also scattered. Although there were still some who continued to attack, they were no longer able to do much. However, at this time the human martial art practitioners had also suffered heavy losses. Inside the Tinjue ancient city is even more dangerous than outside. If you don't have the ability, don't go in to die. This is my warning to you. Tinjue King snorted coldly. Then he left nearly 10,000 warriors of Heavenly Sword Hall to stand guard outside. He only planned to bring 3 sword emperors and 24 sword kings with him. This Tianjue king is really terrifying. Seeing the powerful strength displayed by the Tianjue king, Ba Dao couldn't help but frown. That cosmic light tiger wasn't weak. It was actually killed in one move. To say something disheartening, I'm afraid I can't even last 10 moves in front of this Tianjue king. The reason why the cosmic light tiger died was purely because it didn't understand the Tianjue king and underestimated him. How could it know how terrifying the Tianjue king was? That's why it died so easily. To be honest, the Tianjue king wasn't as strong as he appeared. Long Xiang patted Ba Dao's shoulder and said, "Beautiful Devilon is more powerful than him. But even when I was at the peak of the 18th level of hell, she couldn't have killed me in one move." That's right. Although he's very strong, don't underestimate him and be frightened first. Yen, you also nodded and said, "Demonic beasts are demonic beasts after all." That cosmic light tiger had just transformed into a human form. Its brain isn't enough. That cosmic light tiger's demonic beast crystal core is really enviable. Ling Xiao suddenly said, "I say, brother, your focus is always different from others." Bai Feng smiled bitterly. It's a pity that the cosmic light tiger's demonic beast crystal core was taken away by Sword Sovereign Qin. TSK, what a waste. Ling Xiao was indeed envious. With that demonic beast crystal core, Xiao Jin should be able to evolve again. However, what made him feel gratified was that the other party didn't take away the cosmic light tiger's corpse. It seemed that they didn't care too much about it. Although this corpse couldn't help Xiao Jin, he could transform it into the cosmic light tiger martial soul through the Tyrant martial soul. His black-striped, flying tiger martial soul was too low grade. He hadn't used it for a long time. After changing the cosmic light tiger martial soul, his strength would definitely increase. After the Tianjue king and the others left, Ling Xiao couldn't wait to rush over and put the cosmic light tiger's corpse into the mountain river world. However, the warriors of the Heavenly Sword Hall were unhappy with his actions. "Kid, what are you doing? That cosmic light tiger was killed by our Tianjue king. Even if we don't want the corpse, it's not up to you to pick it up." One of the warriors of the first transformation Yin-Yang realm, level 17 hell, roared in displeasure. "Put down the cosmic light tiger's corpse." The rest of the people came over and surrounded Ling Xiao. "We're all warriors of the Sword Dynasty. Can't you be more generous? Anyway, it's just a corpse. It's not a treasure. Why are you so fierce?" Ling Xiao said with a smile as he used the Tyrant martial soul to transform the corpse. He didn't take these people seriously at all. He didn't want to start a massacre. Otherwise, not to mention 10,000 people, even 100,000 people wouldn't be his match. These people's cultivation was too low. "Kid, how dare you not take us seriously? You're courting death." The people of the Heavenly Sword Hall had always been arrogant. They probably felt that no one in the Sword Dynasty dared to provoke them. Seeing Ling Xiao smiling mischievously and refusing to put down the cosmic light tiger's corpse, they were enraged. Hundreds of people pounced on Ling Xiao almost at the same time, wanting to tear him into pieces. Ling Xiao didn't move at all. He was still focused on transforming his martial soul. Ding ding dang dang. All kinds of weapons hit Ling Xiao, but the sound of metal clashing could be heard. They couldn't leave the slightest mark on Ling Xiao's body. What a joke! How could the black tortoise divine body be broken so easily? I'm warning you one last time. Get lost as far as you can. If you dare to attack again, I'll kill you without mercy. Ling Xiao's cold eyes were like a ferocious beast, scaring the warriors of the Heavenly Sword Hall into retreating one after another. But after retreating a few steps, these people suddenly felt embarrassed. He actually stubbornly walked over again. "We're warriors of the Heavenly Sword Hall. Even if you give him 10 guts, he won't dare to do anything to us." Guard him first and wait for the Tianjua king to return before settling the score with him. One of them shouted. Chapter 3107. Cosmic Light Tiger Beast Soul. First tier of First Transformation, Life-Seizing Realm. Special skill. Cosmic Light Body. Finally, Ling Xiao transformed the Cosmic Light Tiger's corpse into a Cosmic Light Tiger Beast Soul and replaced the previous black-striped Flying Tiger. The Cosmic Light Tiger Beast Soul had the special skill, Cosmic Light Body. This Cosmic Light Body was a good thing. Although it could only help Ling Xiao increase his speed by about 10 times at this stage, the effect was even better when used with the vertical golden light technique. But in the future, it could even exceed the speed of light. Now that he had obtained this skill, it was very useful. Although Ling Xiao's speed was very fast because he lacked the key movement technique and his cultivation base was not as good as those experts, his speed was naturally inferior. But with the Cosmic Light Body, even if he used the demonic dragon phantom movement technique, he could reach the level of a beginner general level movement technique. He would not be much worse than those experts. In the fight for the Ice Supreme catalog, speed was very important. Big Brother Bifong, I've kept you waiting. Go in. Ling Xiao stood up and looked at the people who had been waiting for him there. The martial artists of Heavenly Sword Hall did not dare to fight with Ling Xiao, but they did not want to let Ling Xiao leave just like that. In the end, when Ling Xiao took a step forward, they took a step back. The scene was very strange. Get lost. You dare to stop the people of Nine Defiance. Ling Xiao did not have time to waste with this group of trash. With a stomp of his foot, a group of martial artists in front of him was blown up. Although they didn't die, it was only because Ling Xiao had shown mercy. He did not like to kill indiscriminately. If he had not been forced to, he would not kill indiscriminately. Hearing the name Nine Defiance, the martial artists of Heavenly Sword Hall shuddered. Even Sword Dynasty was not a match for the forces that dared to go against Nine Supremes. Although the members of Nine Defiance who were active in Sword Dynasty were the weakest, they were definitely not someone they could fight against. Anyway, Lord Tianjua is inside. If they go in, they will die too. We don't have to sacrifice in vain. This was the common thought of almost all the martial artists of Heavenly Sword Hall. Therefore, they completely opened up the path. Ling Xiao, Falling Moon, and the rest stepped into the ancient city of Heaven Extinction together. At this moment, the martial artists who had entered the ancient city were only at the first revolution, Yin-Yang realm, and above. As for the rest, they were all frightened by the crazy demonic beast just now. None of them dared to enter rashly. Even so, there were still about 10,000 of them. In the entire Sword Dynasty, there were quite a number of martial artists who were at the 18 levels of hell. Perhaps it was because the Cosmic Light Tiger had been killed, or perhaps it was because the experts of the Heavenly Sword Hall, the Devil Dragon Sword Court, and the Golden Phoenix Sword Palace had cleaned up most of the demonic beasts. In any case, when they entered again, there was not a single demonic beast. Even ordinary demonlings were nowhere to be seen, let alone one-star life-seizers. Boom! Suddenly, a loud sound came from not far away. Then, one could see the huge ice crystal exploding into the sky. Heavy snow suddenly fell from the originally clear sky. The heavy snow that was as heavy as goose feathers made everyone's vision blurry. The Ice Sovereign catalog must have appeared. With such a phenomenon, it can't be wrong. At the same time, almost everyone saw the terrifying phenomenon. They all came to the conclusion that the Ice Sovereign catalog had finally appeared. However, Ling Xiao's eyes were fixed on the geocentric flaming lotus in Chen Jinhuang's hand. That thing was crucial to Little Gold's evolution. It would be great if he could get his hands on it. Everyone quickened their pace and came to the place where the snow was falling. Sure enough, they felt that the cold air here was thicker than anywhere else. Even a first revolution, yin-yang realm martial artist at the 18 levels of hell would find it difficult to resist the terrifying cold. However, this severe cold was formed by the condensation of pure ice elements. It was very helpful for cultivation. You guys stay here and cultivate. Dragon Elephant and I will go fight for the Ice Sovereign catalog. Domineering Blade, you're the strongest. Protect everyone. Falling Moon knew that the next battle would be a battle between life seizers. Ancient martial art practitioners with the cultivation of the 18 levels of hell in the first transition would not be of much help. However, she was worried that Ling Xiao and the others would be ambushed, so she left Domineering Blade to protect them. Sister Falling Moon, there's no need to go through so much trouble. Let Big Brother, Domineering Blade, go with us. With me around, even if the 3 Sword Emperors of the Sword God Hall attack at the same time, they won't be able to hurt our people. Ling Xiao still had experience in protecting people. As he spoke, he took out 3 formation refining stones and set up a cultivation formation and 2 defensive formations. In this way, the Bai Fong and the others could cultivate here without being disturbed. He didn't want to cultivate. Compared to cultivation, fighting was more helpful to him. Therefore, he was prepared to participate in the battle later. I feel like I'm about to break through, the Bai Fong said. This cold force is forcing my cultivation to increase. It's really a good catalyst for me. Unfortunately, I don't have any heavenly calamity jades. I'm afraid it'll be a little troublesome. Don't panic. As for heavenly calamity jades, I believe the martial artists of the Sword God Hall have them. I'll go get more. The corners of Ling Xiao's mouth curled up into a sneer. The Sword God Hall had been chasing after him. This time, it was his turn to kill them. The only thing he was afraid of was Tianjue King. However, Tianjue King and the 3 Sword Emperors of the Sword God Hall had already gone to fight for the Ice Supreme catalog. Similar to Falling Moon, Long Xiang and Domineering Blade's thoughts, he could take advantage of the situation. Demon Dragon Sword Court's Demon Master Lan Mei and the 2 Demon Emperors also joined the fight. However, he didn't see anyone from the Golden Phoenix Sword Palace. However, this had nothing to do with him. Compared to fighting for the Ice Supreme catalog, the Heavenly Calamity Jades were more important to him now. Not only did the Bai Fong want them, but he also wanted them. Xiao Jin also wanted them. The demand was very high. He believed that the 12 top sword kings of the Sword God Hall all had Heavenly Calamity Jades. Even if Heavenly Calamity Jades were rare, the Sword God Hall definitely had a lot of them. At this time, because of the heavy snow, the rest of the 9 Defiants were actually very safe. With his formation, basically no one could discover them. The only thing he was worried about now was Long Chen and Cold Plum, who hadn't appeared yet. After meeting Long Chen and Cold Plum previously, he gave the 2 of them a lot of cultivation pills and miraculous medicines that could greatly increase their cultivation speed. This was probably the reason why they stepped into the Heaven End ancient ruins first. I wonder how their cultivation is now. It shouldn't be bad. After all, the 2 of them were second only to him in terms of talent. Ling Xiao began to sneak towards the Sword God Hall. At the same time, in the center of the cold, the various life seizers had already met. It really is you, Falling Moon. I didn't expect Long Xiang and Domineering Blade to have also broken through to the life-seizing realm. But do you think you can pull a tooth out of the tiger's mouth like this? Seeing Falling Moon and the others, Tianjue King wasn't very happy. In the entire Sword Dynasty, there weren't many life seizers. There were only a few dozen people. 9 Defiants, Falling Moon, was quite famous. How could he not know? Pulling a tooth out of the tiger's mouth? Are you worthy of being called a tiger? You're just someone's watchdog. Chapter 3108. Yan Yu, something's not right. It seems like something is about to appear. Long Xiang was a beast warrior, so he was very sensitive to the aura of demonic beasts. At this moment, he could clearly feel a terrifying demonic aura coming from the coldest place in front. He hurriedly reminded, Yen, you nodded and stopped talking nonsense with Tianjue King. She was on high alert. Tianjue King was not a fool. Although he was very unhappy with 9 Defiance, the key was to get the Ice Supreme catalog first. There was a Vajra ape that was stronger than them here. What's coming? The experts of 9 Defiance, Heavenly Sword Hall, and Demon Dragon, Sword Court all felt the danger. Retreat! Everyone reacted almost at the same time. They retreated into the distance. At this moment, a huge figure descended from the sky and stepped heavily on the place where they were. In its hand was a huge 1,000-pound rod condensed from ice crystals. The 1,000-pound rod suddenly smashed down. An entire ground kept collapsing and cracking. The nearby buildings were instantly turned into dust. Vajra ape! The moment the monster appeared, the heavy snow suddenly stopped, and the huge ice crystals in the air were actually swallowed by the Vajra ape. This guy was about 10 meters tall, and his body was incomparably sturdy. Originally, his entire body was glowing with golden light, and the 1,000-pound rod in his hand should also be golden. But what made people feel strange was that at this moment his entire body was glowing with an ice, crystal-like light. Even the 1,000-pound rod had become condensed from ice crystals. There was only one possibility. The Vajra ape swallowed the Ice Supreme catalog into his stomach. All the experts had the same thought in an instant. Roar! The Vajra ape let out a series of strange cries that sounded like mockery. The martial artists who were watching the battle from afar all heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, they did not barge into the snow-covered area out of greed. Otherwise, a large number of people would have died when the rod came down. Everyone, this evil beast swallowed the Ice Supreme catalog and still dares to mock us. Can we put aside our past grudges and fight the enemy together? Tianjue King was indeed Tianjue King. His brain was not damaged at the critical moment. No problem. Let's kill this evil beast first, and then compete for the Ice Supreme catalog based on our own abilities. How about it? Demon Master Lan Mimi also said, Agreed. Yen, you also nodded. This was the best idea at the moment. After all, the Vajra God Ape was a terrifying first-star, life-sizer demonling. None of the 3 of them could possibly defeat it. It would take all of the life-seizers working together to succeed. Although they were working together, none of the 3 parties were willing to make the first move. After all, the Vajra ape was too strong. No matter who attacked first, they would be in trouble. But even if they didn't make a move, the Vajra ape didn't care. It swung the 1,000-pound ice crystal cudgel in its hand. Everyone had become a target. Bastard! Tianjue King finally could not help but attack. His swordsmanship was brilliant. Lan Mei didn't want to fall behind either. Falling Moon similarly launched an attack. As for the other, First Division Life-Seizers, they were there to help. They definitely couldn't face the Vajra ape head-on, but if they used all of their Heavenly Tribulation True Essence to attack, the power would still be very strong. Taking advantage of the chaos, Ling Xiao finally took action. Ah! The cry came to an abrupt end. It was completely covered by the chaotic sounds of battle. Ling Xiao instantly killed a top sword king and took a look at his storage ring. Sure enough, there was a Heavenly Tribulation Jade. After killing this top sword king, Ling Xiao instantly slipped away. He gave the Heavenly Tribulation Jade to the Bai Fong. At this time, the Bai Fong had already begun to break through. Although the snow had stopped, the battle pressure released by the experts could stimulate his cultivation even more. The sky was dense, and the lightning had already begun to fall. However, with the Heavenly Tribulation Jade, the lightning would only attack those who had it. Even if Chong Ching and the others were beside the Bai Fong, there was no need to worry. Someone broke through over there. The Bai Fong's Heavenly Tribulation was finally noticed. Many martial artists walked over, as if they wanted to take advantage of it, especially the Sword Kings of Sword God Hall. They recognized the Undying Bird by Fong, Divine Arrow Chong-Ching-Ching, and Shadow Blade Phantom. They wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to take down the three of them. However, the experts over there didn't notice the changes here because no one dared to be distracted. The Vajra ape was too terrifying. The two sides had only exchanged blows for a short while, but a sword sovereign of Sword God Hall was already seriously injured and fell to the ground. Ba Dao was also injured and had to temporarily withdraw from the battle. On the Demon Dragon Sword Court side, the Medicine Demon Emperor was also injured. Fortunately, Lan Meima, Tianjua King, and Lan Yu's attacks were too domineering and had already left many wounds on the Vajra ape. Although the Vajra ape was strong, it was gradually at a disadvantage after being besieged by so many people. Looking over here, the Sword God Hall's martial artists had already surrounded the Bai Fong and the others. However, they didn't notice Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was currently mixed in the crowd and had even used the transformation technique, so he couldn't be discovered at all. Ha ha ha, how lucky. They actually dared to cultivate here. These three from 9 Defiance must be stupid. Everyone, they all have a high bounty. Even if we can't get the Ice Supreme catalog, it's not bad to get the heads of these three people. Kill. A Sword King from the Heavenly Sword Hall shouted. He received the agreement of many martial artists. Hence, the group of people all charged towards the Bai Fong, Chong-Ching-Ching, and Phantom. However, right at this moment, a pinnacle Sword King of Sword God Hall died again. He died in a baffling manner. Someone launched a sneak attack. Be careful. Only then did they realize that something was wrong. When the first pinnacle Sword King died just now, they thought that the battle over there had affected them. However, it was now very clear that someone had launched a sneak attack. A sneak attack could only be carried out under the circumstances where the other party was unaware. Once detected, the sneak attack would fail and it would be very dangerous. Hence, Ling Xiao simply revealed his identity. Scram if you don't want to die. Holding the demon dragon sword in one hand, a huge dragon claw appeared in the other. The current Ling Xiao had already entered the frost dragon beast soul transformation state. In this kind of place, it was obvious that this beast soul transformation was more suitable for fighting. It's Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao, ranked second on the bounty list, with a bounty of 20 million mid-grade spirit stones. It seemed that Ling Xiao's face was still very easy to recognize. As long as he returned to his original appearance, others would be able to recognize him. Don't be afraid of him. It's a typical case of bounty greater than strength. Someone shouted. That's right. So what if he's powerful? We're all powerhouses of the 18th level of hell. Why should we be afraid of him? Another person shouted. It could be said that the crowd was excited. It seems that there are really many people who aren't afraid of death. In that case, I can only start a massacre. Originally, Ling Xiao's target was only the martial artists of Sword God Hall, but now he could only do it all. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a terrifying frost dragon. His entire person had entered the beast form of the frost dragon. Then he opened his mouth. Frost Dragon Breath. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.